Oh, and Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lawson does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as it coming to the right hand. And this is it. Chris Lawson seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lawson takes it.
Pedro Zuma into the wall.
It's actually Valero. Valero's actually gone off into the barriers, coming up to the cutting.
David Todd making his way back up, has already climbed 7 positions.
Oh, I spoke too soon there. Sandy goes up.
So right now, this is going to be where it's going to get shaken up. David Todd passes them while they are in the pit through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
So we have 3-way battle going to the most dangerous turn of the mountain. Up the mountain, we have contact right there. These guys going absolutely crazy. It's going to come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Who is going to have to lead? We may have a drag race to the finish line on our hands, folks. You see David Todd right now going into the pit lane.
Here we go then, Valero, he looks left, he looks right, he's going to the right hand side, which is the inside going into turn 3.
Here it is. This is the crucial moment in this race. It's looking like it's only going one way. David Todt is going to take the race lead. Heading into the second half of the season, the Hungarian of David Todt has driven a masterclass here with the early pit stop. Not the ideal strategy, but an ideal race winner and an excellent performance.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
Hello, good evening, and welcome here in sunny Germany at Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in the Formula 4s. It is, of course, AMX Global Season 6, Race 5 in the AMX ZERO class, and boy, we have got a slobber knocker of a bunch of races for you here today. Now, just before we get into it, of course, we got to go into the introductions, and we're coming up on screen in just a little bit. Hello, everybody. My name is Damon, and I'm joined here by Julian here. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a fun night. And Julian, since this is you and I's first time on the commentary box together, gotta ask, how you feeling tonight?
Very good, thank you. Very excited for some more AMX action in Season 6. Looking at the current track combo, I think we're in for an absolutely cracking afternoon/evening tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been a while since we rejoined AMX. Of course, the last race we did was just before the end of Season 5, and now we're back here at the start of Season 6, which means new tracks, new car combinations, new drivers willing to test their mettle against the best of the best that we have. Of course, our socials down there, you can see we have Instagram all the way to TikTok, so you can see our content on all social media, well, almost all of them. And you can also join in on this discussions at AMX Global on our Discord server. So if you want to just hop in and talk to some of the right racers there, feel free to do so. But just before we head into the qualifying segments, we've got to do a little bit of housekeeping. So here we are. You can see here on the screen, AMX Sim Racing World Championship Season 6 overview. This time it'll run from September 7th to November 17th with a season prize pool of $11,000 as well as next level gear. Now the race format for AMX ZERO is as follows. We have a 15-minute qualifier. The top 15 positions will then be shuffled into reverse grid order for the first heat, and then the race results from that will then be shuffled again in reverse grid order for the second heat. Driver cams are, of course, required as always. Payout balances over $100 will be paid out to drivers every month, and our race days this season are on Saturday and Sunday. You can sign up to race with us anytime here at amxrace.com. Our schedule is as follows. We have Saturday races, AMX ZERO at 5:50 p.m. and at AMX 5 at 7:10 p.m. That's this week's schedule. Next week we have AMX 10, or sorry, tomorrow we have AMX 10 actually, going on at 5:50 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. And then they will alternate between AMX 10 and AMX 15, which starts at 5:50 p.m. Oh, tomorrow is AMX 15. I've just been told by my producer. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty long race tomorrow. So if you guys want to hop in there, feel free to do so as well. Our prize pool is as follows. Qualifying will pay out a total of $5 to fastest qualifying time, and the increment will slowly go down all the way until 15th place, where you get 25 cents. Now, for the first heat, same prizes as qualifying, but there is also a $1 fastest lap bonus. So if you place first and end up with fastest lap, you can end up with $6 per heat. So total, if you win up all 3 sessions, you can walk away with looks like about $17, which is pretty good for a race that doesn't last longer than an hour. And now I'm bringing it over to Julian to do our track and car info.
Thank you very much, Damon. We're slap bang in the middle of Germany in Oschersleben. This track was first opened in 1997 with a length of over 1.1 kilometers. It's not a pretty famous track in Germany if you compare it to the likes of the Nordschleife or Hockenheim, but it definitely is a gem. And the cars that the drivers will tackle around said track. It is the Ray FF1600, 115 horsepower, rear wheel drive, 500 kilos is the weight, and the gearbox is manual, so we will see H pattern shifter. Now, very interesting with these cars, wheel locking is definitely a thing. I'm hoping we don't see too much of it, as it can lead to some pretty big accidents, especially going through the opening turns.
Thank you very much for that, Julian. And now we're taking it all the way to qualifying. And like you said before, Formula 4, it's open wheel cars. Quite dangerous early on because you always have that risk of getting into contact. And contact with these cars especially is going to be especially detrimental when you end up colliding because of how exposed the suspension components are. So we want to try to avoid contact as much as possible here. We are on track. This is the C layout of Oschersleben. Which means it's fairly short, which means that for both heats, we have a grand total of 37 laps that these drivers have to go around here. And I can see on the track right now, a bunch of drivers here. We have about 10 drivers in total. A couple of new names here that I haven't seen in a while, but also a bunch of old heads. We do have Ayrton Reutemann, Tim State, Evandro Dantas, Pedro Dean, Bruno Del Carmo, and a bunch of other drivers here on track as well. You can see on the timing boards there. But so far, Miguel Araujo, man, pardon my Spanish, but yeah, Miguel here, currently in the fastest lap time.
Indeed, but you got to remember, it is early days in the qualifying session. We still have pretty much 7 minutes left, so anything can still happen, but right now he is leading away, and I'm just looking right now at Evandro Dantas. All racing, different drivers taking different lines, especially through this corner here where the track cuts off. Like you mentioned, we're on the C course layout, so it's a bit shorter and it looks a bit unorthodox how it just re-enters, but it is also a very tight track. So we mentioned wheel banging, you don't want too much of that. I think at certain points it is inevitable, but to what degree will people back out? Probably in the opening couple laps, but come the end of Heat 2, I'm sure it'll get a bit spicy.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see there when they're coming into the hairpin, the lines are kind of blurred when it comes to that. So you pretty much can take almost any line through there and you wouldn't really suffer the consequences for it. Some people might decide to take it wide and get a little bit of exit speed on there. Some people might take it as tight as possible and just scrub off as much of the track length as possible. But yeah, definitely a different bunch of tactics that we're seeing here. We're seeing Ayrton Reutemann on the screen right now. Returning driver, of course, from Season 5. He was doing pretty well for himself over there, looking to see if he can improve on himself throughout this entire season. And yeah, you can immediately see just how quickly the cars are going by. We're doing about 30 seconds a lap. But the important thing with this is that because of how short the track length it actually is, when there's a gap, it's a very substantial one, even if it looks like it's only a few tenths.
Especially, I mean, since there's not as many corners, there's not as much places to lose time, but also less places to make up time. So a tenth is quite a bit around here compared to a track like the Nordschleife, where a tenth is extremely close. But so far looking at it, it is still pretty close considering the track is just over 1 kilometer long. I mean, the top 3 separated by under a tenth, so in terms of qualifying pace, it is very close at the top, isn't it, Damon?
Yeah, definitely, and we've about less than 5 minutes left into qualifying. It feels like we don't really have that much time to sit and get through, but 5 minutes on the track like this means they can probably squeeze in about 10 laps in total for all of them. So definitely still a lot of time to see whether or not the drivers can improve. So far, Miguel Araujo is still up in front with Bruno Del Carmo and Pedro Dean really close behind, less than a tenth, as you said before. Evandro Dantas rounding up the sub 32 second laps, and then we enter that we have Gerard Sardeni, Ayrton Reutemann, Thiago Pereira, Tim State, as well as God, it's gonna be a nightmare to pronounce that name, Felipe Petriniv and Alec Brown from Canada.
Well, you did rather well with that pronunciation, that's for sure. As someone who's smoking, and we've had a crash during qualifying, a car barreling, and I think there was a lockup or some smoke which kind of blinded the car behind, which got launched into the sky. I've never seen anything like that in qualifying. I'm not too sure who that was, Tim, and did you catch that? Do you know who was involved in that incident?
I think I think it might have been Tim State, actually. I'm not entirely sure, but he did look like he went into the pits after that. And yeah, you're right, it could possibly be a lockup on the wheels. And in a car as basic as this, no aero to speak of, completely reliant on mechanical grip, not having a lot of power, also very light on its wheels. Yeah, I haven't really seen an incident like that happen in qualifying in quite a while.
already off to a wacky start. But that's all about it with the AMX ZERO races. I mean, last week I was commentating there as well, and it was a crazy race for sure. And we've already got that craziness in qualifying, as now we're watching someone who I've never seen before, Alec Brown from Canada, like you said. And I just want to point out to the viewers at home, the timing screen's at the bottom of your screen. Yellow means you are not improving, green means a personal best has been set, and purple means fastest of anyone in that sector. So keep an eye out for that in these last couple of minutes. Only 2 minutes 30 left, but so far it's looking like Bruno Carmo has got it on lockdown, but he's just barely ahead of Miguel Araujo. So it's anyone's game, isn't it? As Alex Brown spins there, careful getting back onto the track, and he does so in a nice manner.
Yeah, I do definitely think that like AMX ZERO is a great testing bed for any aspiring driver that wants to test their mettle against some of the best, because we have a bunch of really good drivers here at AMX ZERO as well, and because there is no buy-in for this particular class, if you decide that you want to give it a shot, feel free to just sign up at amxrace.com. In fact, I can think you could probably still try and make your way here, but with less than 2 minutes left into the qualifying, I wouldn't recommend it. Regardless, Bruno De Carmo cutting off Miguel for the fastest lap time, down to 31.7 seconds, so he's going to be pretty satisfied with that. You can see him on your screen right now, really concentrating there, and yeah, trying to get past the traffic as cleanly as possible, because what's the most important thing in the qualifying lap is that you always want to be on your best pace, and navigating your way through traffic is not the way to do it.
Absolutely not. And we're now watching Evandro Dantas, who was purple in sector 2 then, and I think he did improve on his time to a 31.9. 2.5 tenths, quite a bit to find around a short lap like this, but these are going to be the final couple of laps. Everyone should have enough time to do 2, maybe 3 laps, depending on where they are out on track. Pedro Dean also not too far off provisional pole, but I think it's anyone's game. I mean, one mistake and you could be slipping down positions or just finding some time. His slipstream does not really play a big part around this lap. There's not really a proper long straightaway, so will overtaking be an issue? What's your thoughts on that, Damon?
It's going to be a really tough one to call. If they're close enough, the overtaking opportunity will always be there, because you can see the Lightning McQueen Rusty's livery going against the Hot Wheels livery of both these cars right now. Miguel Araujo and Pedro Dean, really nice, bringing out the creative liveries this early on in the season. But yeah, as you said, not a lot of overtaking opportunities in terms of straight line speed, but a lot of times we made up, especially I think this particular hairpin, where the lines are going to be so wildly different for every driver. So if there is an opportunity to overtake, I think that will be the contention point for these drivers. As we're coming up to the end of qualifying here, so far it seems that Bruno De Carmo will be taking over that fastest lap from Miguel Araujo. We'll have the leaderboards on screen in just a little bit, but your provisional results will be Alec Brown not being able to set a really great time, but he will be starting on pole for the first heat. And here is your BenQ session winner there, Bruno De Carmo, pipping Miguel Araujo by about 0.03 of a second. Pedro Dean will be rounding out the podium. Evandro Dantas in P4, Eto Reutemann P5, Gerard Sardeni P6, Tim State, well-known, very recognizable driver here, P7, Thiago Pereira in P8, Felipe Spetrini in P9, and again, as I said before, Alec Brown rounding up the top 10 here. He will be starting on pole, and that means Bruno De Carmo finding his way back into the front in a very narrow track. We'll have to see whether he manages it.
Indeed, but you'll have to remember it's a lot of laps around here. Who can keep their head in the game? That's going to be the most important thing. Staying consistent. Like we said, it's a lot of laps, but still 20 minutes. Like usual. I mean, if you look at the run to turn one, it's only a couple of centimeters, really, before you then head to the right-hander. And it's such a tricky one to call, isn't it, with this current track, and specifically the track layout using the Course C and not the regular one.
Yeah, definitely, and you can already see the actual finish line, start-finish line isn't even completely straight. So all we have the drivers at the back starting in the curve before the finish straight. So, you know, going to be a bit tough to call as well. T1 here may not see a bunch of incidents considering how little of a run-up you actually get, but I could be proven wrong, of course. And here we go, green lights are off. Here we come, not a great launch there from, I believe that was Felipe. He's going to be bogged down a little bit, but here comes Bruno already starting to charge up. Pedro Dean currently holding on to that P6 spot P7 spot right now, doing a pretty good job at holding his position. Looks like there hasn't been any real charges up the grid. I could be mistaken. Alec Brown still holding on the lead, but here comes Thiago Pereira on the inside, taking a very tight line through there, paying off for him in dividends, and Felipe also making it through, but Alec Brown's not conceding any more positions that he already has. Oh, big crash already happening there. Oh my god. Immediately, Felipe and Alec Brown both involved in a tangle.
Yep, from what I can make out, to me seems like Alec Brown just oversteered into him. I'm sure we'll get a replay shortly, but it was Pereira who got the best start, all right up to P1 from P3 off the line. But Elton Reutemann is not too far behind him, and it seemed like through that hairpin, it's the tighter line that seems to be the way to go, at least so far, what we've seen. And I think here was the crash. It's an interesting one. We'll have to wait for the replay, but currently on board with Sardini, who's looking to make the move on Pedro Dean, who's not too far behind Tim Stay, and he might make a move to the inside of the right-left combo. No, he's backed out of it. Instead, in goes Pedro Dean, and that's wheel locking in a nutshell for you right there, ladies and gentlemen. And his wheel is up, and he's going to be out of this race.
Yeah, and that is just open wheels in general. You really want to avoid contact with each other's wheels as much as possible because of how exposed the suspension components are, and Pedro Dean trying to close the doors there, unable to do so, and then just getting completely cut off there. That's two drivers currently in the pits, so that leaves an 8-car grid. Tim State still holding on to his P3 position. Pretty good race for him so far. Ethan Reutemann still holding on to that P2, not that far behind Thiago Pereira. We're on board with Miguel Araujo right now in P4, trying to make up time towards Tim State as well, but half a second down, and half a second on a track like this is substantial. And just remember, we are only on lap 5 of 37, so we've still got a bunch of ways to go. Ooh, bit of oversteer there from Evandro Dantas. Looks like Bruno De Carmo making his way through and getting past him. And yeah, as I said before, there's very little in terms of downforce for these cars there. You have to rely so much on that mechanical grip, and if you lose control of the car, that's it there. First lap crash is between Felipe and Alec Brown here. You can see Alec Brown may have tried to go near the edge of the line, trying to close the doors on Felipe there, but clipped the wheels and then gets spun off.
So unfortunate that it happened that early on in the race, but that's what happens when you're in a car with no aero and just over 100 horsepower. Is you will go into side-by-side moments trying to push the car to its limits and then realize, oh wait, that corner's not flat and there's a car right there you would crash into. But Miguel Araujo up 6 positions so far as Tim State goes a bit wide, as Bruno De Carmo has slid one up the inside. He's going to say thank you very much. As further up the pack, there's action all around Ayrton Reutemann. I think he's just gone all the way around the outside of the double left-hander, and that's an absolutely brilliant move from him.
Yeah, definitely a great move from him in front of Thiago Pereira there. It's coming up to a back marker of Gerard Sadeni here. Ayrton Reutemann, we've known him over the last season to be a pretty fast driver, but slightly overshadowed by the top, the cream of the crowd, the pack. Ooh, Thiago Pereira coming to the hairpin, bit of oversteer there, managing to keep the car under control for the time being, but that will lose him quite a bit of time. He's now almost a second behind Ayrton Reutemann. That's a lot of time you need to make up here. Lap 8 right now is for Miguel Araujo, trying to make a pass onto Bruno De Carmo actually, but Bruno De Carmo actually makes the pass on top of him, so he's now up into P3, so his charge to the front of the grid from a very, very quick qualifying session for him is doing very well for himself.
Absolutely, and it just seems like after commentating on one incident, well, here it is, Pedro Dean, the incident that this was the wheel locking one. Look at that, you can just see fits like a puzzle piece pretty much, and just gets a better run, clips the rear left, sends Pedro Dean out spinning, and luckily no one else got involved in that, but that just shows fine margins here. And it was through this complex right there where it is pretty much a one-line section through the right-left chicane. You really need to ride the curbs, and going side by side is just not going to work. As said for a second that Pereira dropped down, but now he's back up there, so maybe a bit of lag there. On board with Miguel Araro then, but as you can see, it seems like qualifying is not an issue for these guys. They've made their way through the pack. Look at Bruno De Carmo made up 7. This guy right here, Araro, made up 5. So it's interesting. These guys will start to bunch up, I think, as they catch up and start to fly. And only lap 10 out of 37 seems like whenever you close your eyes for a second, it's a new lap.
Yeah, definitely. And blink and you'll miss it for all these drivers, as Miguel here trying to see if he can make it past Bruno De Carmo after Bruno De Carmo caught him unawares and got the pass over him. The good thing about being near the back of this current train is that you get to really see where the other driver is pushing that car and whether or not you can push harder in certain sections. As you can see through this complex here, very, very tight and narrow. As they're coming out to the next hairpin here, we'll see what line he decides to take. All 3 cars might be taking the same exact line here, but Bruno De Carmo going in really tight, cutting off Pereira. Miguel also following suit, but not able to be as successful as Bruno De Carmo. Ooh, Bruno made that look so easy.
I think Pereira outbroke himself, as now he's struggling with a bit of oversteer, and now Arrero's going to try and slip by. Yes, and he has got him by, so it seems like Pereira just pushing a bit too hard, first on the brakes and then on the traction. And the Formula Ray does not want to give that much, only mechanical grip, of course. In terms of front wing, it does not have one. So cons, no grip. Pros, you can't break your front wing, so that's something. But look at that, I think he was just pushing a bit too hard there, Damon.
Yeah, definitely. It just feels like he might be testing the limits a little bit too much. Certain driving styles do apply themselves to how well you can really handle these Formula 4s, and it looks like Thiago is going a little bit aggressive. You can see the way he attacks some of these corners. He's going in really deep on the nose and then letting the back slide out a little bit, but it might... Ooh, as I say that right now, he overcooks that hairpin again. This is the second lap in a row that he really hasn't gotten that hairpin under lock and key, so he's going to be losing even more time here. But Evandro Dantas there actually just lost 2 positions there. Wonder what happened to him, but we'll have to see whether or not there will be a replay. Maybe it was a small incident, maybe it was a nothing burger, but regardless, Bruno De Carmo making his way up the rest of the pack now, chasing down Ed Reutemann, who's having to make his way past the back marker of Gerard Sadeni here, which means that Bruno tries to go into the tight line, closes the gap a little bit, unable to really make any headway. No, he's going to make it past his back marker. Yes, Gerard gives him a bit of leeway to get through. So now this battle for P1 is starting to heat up.
Oh, that was real close there. Reutemann's not going to be too happy about that. You can see gap now only 5/10, and you can see there sector 1, sector 2. Bruno De Carmo is still quicker even without the help of the back marker getting in the way. I was just going to mention, Pereira is almost driving this like a go-kart, just kicking out the rear end, using as rotation. These cars have a bit more grip than a go-kart, but also quite a bit more horsepower than a go-kart. So it seems like it's not working out for him right now. He's dropped down to P4 after taking the lead early on. So I think he's going to have to find something, especially through that hairpin. I'm sure he will adapt very quickly, as this battle for the lead seems to be brewing up, and it's only lap 16 out of 37, not even halfway through.
Yeah, it's almost insane to think about it that we have so many laps going now. We're not even 10 minutes into the race just yet here, but Bruno De Carmo really charging his way forward, giving the pressure to Anton Reutemann here. Anton Reutemann looks like he's got it handled under control so far, but time will tell whether or not he slips and gives Bruno De Carmo the edge here. So coming into the complex, ooh, you can definitely see Bruno is pushing the car quite a bit, trying to make it past here. This is the hairpin. Again, the major point of contention here. Tries to go tight. Will he be able to get a faster exit? It does look like it, but not fast enough to really seal the deal here. Still holding on. Less than 0.2 of a second separating these two drivers right now. And for the time being, we've noticed that really most of the overtaking maneuvers are happening at a hairpin, which kind of like solidifies my theory because of how difficult it is to take it, because you don't really have any guidelines to navigate through. You just have to pick a line and hope it's the best one. Ooh, Bruno De Carmo, 2 wheels on the grass there. Here come again through the hairpin. I've barely made my point and we're going around this hairpin yet again. Bruno De Carmo still really not being able to make a pass just yet.
Yeah, I think he's just sussing out where he's quicker, and I think it's through the crucial section where we are coming up to right now, this little chicane where you need to get a good run out of, because that's the hairpin that we've been talking about. That's where you can overtake, and he's real close behind him now. Last time out he dipped the tire in the grass. This time he was well away from it, and he has a look just enough to put Reutemann off his line and away from the apex, and he's side by side now. Can he get a good run? No, he can't, but tell what he did with that. He got ever so closer now, but out of nowhere Miguel Araro gets a great exit, and he's on the outside now. Bruno de Carmo needing to switch from offense to defense. I think he's got to back. Look at the gap now, 4/10, so he's going to have to close right back up to Arten Reutemann, which is going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what happened is Bruno de Carmo saw the angle, was going to go all the way for it, but then had to back off because he didn't want to take both drivers out. Miguel, on the other hand, just took advantage of that situation, made it now a 3-car battle for P1. Remember, these 2 cars battling will be slowing each other down and giving space for the other cars behind them to catch up. And Miguel is doing just that. So all of a sudden, we're halfway through the race right now, just over halfway, and it's the 3-car battle as they're coming out to the next back marker here.
Yeah, we saw last time out that a back marker can be race changing, especially when they're this close together. I would imagine the back marker lets them go all at once, but you never know. They might not see them, or they'll catch up to him in a section where you just can't let him by, where there's no place to go. You would have to sacrifice your own race, going onto the grass almost. But look at how close Bruno de Carmo is to Arten Reutemann, exactly where he wants to be as well, going through the chicane, then the right-hander, going a bit tighter there. It seems like he's just a bit too far back. Has a look as now they're really at the back marker, spins, and no, almost gets collected there. That was some Lightning McQueen reflexes from Miguel Arau. That was scary. That could have been a head-on frontal crash there. I think both of our hearts were in our stomachs there, Damon.
I forget, in my stomach, I think it was almost jumping out of my mouth there. It's Bruno de Carmo actually narrowing back down the gap between him and Reutemann, which means he is definitely at a higher pace than Ayrton is right now in pole position, just leaving Miguel Araujo back in the dust there just a little bit. Here comes the move yet again. Not close enough. Really, you have to be within at least 0.05 of a second before you can really try something there. As the rest of the cars on the grid here, Alec Brown really hasn't gotten a handle on the car just yet, has now retired to the pit lane. We'll see if he comes back out. Kim State and Felipe Petrini, if they're competing for that P5 as well. Meanwhile, the rest of the grid is pretty much spaced out. But the battle that we are definitely looking at right now is this battle for P1 pole position yet. Been going on for the past 10 laps. Hasn't really changed outcomes at all since then. But Bruno de Carmo hasn't given up yet, and as you said early on, this multi-lap race, many laps, it's all about concentration.
Have they already been fighting for 10 laps? Feels like they've been going for just a couple of minutes, but that is it on a track like this. And you can see, here goes Bruno de Carmo. It was a late move, and I think has he gone too deep? I think he has. Yeah. Where is he? There he is, side by side. They rejoin Bruno de Carmo, or yes, Bruno de Carmo, sorry, did not get the move done. He is going to try holding it on the outside, but there's no grip there out of the racing line. It was a desperate lunge, which seemed to have worked out, but then just the switchback, Reutemann gets it. And I think now he's really piling on the pressure, and he kind of needs to force Reutemann into a mistake, going off into the grass here on the left. As you can see, Reutemann going a bit more defensive into that hairpin. He's not going to let that happen again.
Yeah, definitely, and Bruno de Carmo was really aggressive there, trying to push his tires to beyond their limit, trying to make that pass happen. And you can see he was just pretty much sliding around, trying to regain control of his car around. Excellent car control from him, actually. But again, we still got about 10 laps left, which means there's about 5 minutes left in the race. He's still got a bit of time to try and mount an attack. You can see the onboard camera there from Ayrton Reutemann. The nose of Bruno de Carmo is just coming up to his exhaust tip. And so far, this battle, again, slowing them both down, giving space for Miguel Araujo to catch up yet again.
Tell you what, if these two tango have the slightest bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, he will be there and he could probably get them. So don't count him out yet. But right now, I'd say the man who's looking good for this race win is Ayrton Reutemann, as he's leading. Can Bruno De Carmo get past it? No, that's any other track, I think, with just a straight that was 50 meters longer, maybe even 25 meters. He would have had him a long time ago. But we are racing not on any track. We're racing here in Oschersleben on the C course, and it's just such a tight track with no proper straight, and you just need really hope you get a good run and don't burn out your rear tires, and hope you can brake later than the car ahead. And it seems like they're catching up to another lap car, and this will be close to the end of the race.
Yeah, will they be able to make it through the back marker? It doesn't look like Bruno De Carmo really going ham on those rear tires. I wonder what the wear is like on it right now, whether he really has the grip in order to continue this assault. For the time being, it looks like he definitely does, but we've about 7 laps remaining. We'll have to see whether or not he'll start to get desperate. He does really want a Heat 1 win as well to add on to his qualifying win. And oh, Reutemann, they're going a bit wide, which means that opens up space for Bruno De Carmo on attack. He goes in tight yet again, almost clips the wall there. That's how close he was. But Ayrton Reutemann lapsed in driving there, lapsed in concentration, gives Bruno De Carmo space to make it through. Miguel Araujo also closing in as well, and just like that, a snap moment. Just one mistake, a bit too wide off the grass, and immediately you just lose it.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said, Dan. I just going wide, touching the grass, and no grip there, as there's a lap car in the way. I think he got past, or he's going to try it on the outside there. But the inside's so powerful through this corner. I think Bruno De Carmo has got it, unless Reutemann can get a good run. He's got a okay run, but not enough to where he can challenge on the outside at least now. But he's very close to him now. Don't go anywhere, folks. 5 laps left, and this race is intense. Miguel Araujo is sitting behind them with a bucket of popcorn right now, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely got a chip on his shoulder right now for that move. A relative unforced error from him, and looks like it's happening yet again. He's just losing a bit of time on the entrance to the hairpin there. But again, trying to go for a tighter line than Bruno is for that pass, unable to really make it happen. And that's another really interesting thing that we didn't point out when it comes to a track as short as this. Running into bank markers is actually going to be a very common occurrence here.
Absolutely, and thank God we don't have 20 or so cars, because it would be non-stop traffic pretty much for the leaders and the mid-pack, and one spin and it's going to be a train effect. So maybe 10 cars is just enough. I mean, it's providing brilliant of action, isn't it, for the lead. These three have been fighting it out for almost 20 laps at this point, as they start lap 34 out of 37. And these cars are not faster than F4. They're quite a bit slow. They're even slower than Formula Regional. So I think we're going to come a bit wider. Damon, who's your money on right now?
I think Bruno De Carmo has been really on a charge lately, and if he can hold his concentration just a little bit, I may have spoken a bit too soon, as Ayrton Reutemann is still trying to go for the dive. We've got about 3 laps remaining in this race right now, and yeah, Bruno De Carmo still pretty concentrating right now, which means he still has that focus, that razor shot focus, and Miguel Araujo is also trying to make his way. And we're coming out to the back part here. Felipe Spetrini actually made it, holding it against Tim State there, but they're still really almost neck and neck to each other. Less than 2 laps remaining before the end of the race here. Heat 1, Tim State will want to look for a nice finishing position so he can get into the points. But the battle, of course, the most important battle here, we're on the penultimate lap, is Miguel Araujo actually made it past Ayrton Reutemann there in front, which means Ayrton may have made another slight error here and given space for Miguel to make it through. Ayrton's not going to be really happy with that. He's going to be very, very upset about that.
It had to be a mistake. I was looking at the timing sheets. He was, well, far enough ahead to where Araujo could not send a dive bomb. So it had to maybe a snap of oversteer, or maybe just understeer. I don't know what it was. We'll never know, but his white flag's out. And the final lap, Bruno De Carmo has a 1.9 second lead. I think P1 and maybe even P2 are locked in, and P3 then has that That's a costly mistake. That's something you wouldn't expect from someone like Ayrton Reutemann, but it's been Bruno De Carmo. No mistakes. He's charged his way through the grid, up 9 whopping positions from P10. Starting last, and he will start last due to the reverse grid, but he's going to take the win then. And what a drive it has been from him. What a drive from the top 3, being that close for 12 minutes or so.
Yeah, definitely. And because Bruno De Carmo finished first, he gets to do it all over again next heat. And yeah, he'll be joined by Miguel Araujo and Ayrton Reutemann near the back of the grid here, as the rest of the drivers are, of course, making their way through. We have Felipe Svertunev down, holding on to that P5 position over Tim Stay in P6, Evandro Dantas in P7, Gerard Sardeni in P8, Alec Brown in P9, and Pedro Dean, unfortunately, with that wheel losing itself in this runoff, will have to settle for P10, which means he gets full position. But maybe Bruno De Carmo has another contender on his hands here. And here are the results here for Heat 1. Bruno De Carmo, convincing victory, managed to keep his focus all the way from start to finish. Miguel Araujo, last minute move here, picking it all the way up to P2. Ayrton Reutemann down to P3. Not going to be too happy with that. Diago Pereira staying strong in P4 despite a couple of mistakes early on. Felipe Svertunev in P5. Tim State P6. Evandro Dantas in P7. Gerard Sardeni, Alec Brown, and Pedro Dean will be rounding out the top 10. And of course, fastest lap going to Bruno De Carmo. How could it not, with how consistent he was driving throughout the entire race?
I mean, it was written on the wall, wasn't it? And I think we might see a Grand Slam. He had pole position, he had Heat 1 win and fastest lap. Can he do Heat 2 win and fastest lap? That would be something else, that is for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we're on grid right now, so we're getting ready for Heat 2. Waiting for the cars to load in. Green lights will be down in just a second. You can see the engines are revving out. Here comes the green lights are off. Ooh, not a great launch there. Is the car of Alec Brown. So he's going to be dropping that even further back again. Meanwhile, Bruno De Carmo, let's see where he is right now. Starting in P9 after an amazing launch for him. But he's going to have to make his way up to the grid once again. On the strike. Oh, turn 1! Complex incident here again. I think that was Alec Brown that got punted off. And yes, that was indeed Alec Brown. And this guy cannot catch a break at the time being. Tim State actually probably was involved in that as well. We see him going into the pits. And lap 1 yet again delivers in terms of chaos.
I think Alec Brown went a bit too hard going into that corner, as now Bruno De Carmo and Evandro Dantas are fighting out, as well as seems like Miguel Araujo has managed to stay ahead of his arch rival in this track and car combo. Bruno De Carmo, he's not too far back. I think they'll just make their way through the grid, then start battling among themselves. But Pedro Dean, he's got a nice healthy lead so far, 1.1 seconds. Of course, he was taken out early in Heat 1, lap 7 or so, so we still haven't seen his proper race pace, but it seems strong so far. That is absolutely...
Yeah, you can see already a bunch of drivers making their way up the grid. Felipe in P3, Ayrton Reutemann back up to P4, Miguel and Bruno De Carmo, the 3 battlers for P1 last race, are now pretty much next to each other here. Felipe goes wide, which he has space for Reutemann to make a dive in, but Miguel Araujo is also up there, almost rear-ending Ayrton Reutemann there, but both of them made it through. But let's see if Felipe calls it back onto the start finish straight. Here comes Bruno De Carmo. He's going to try and make it past as well, trying to avoid any incidents here. Looks like he won't be able to make it past just yet, but Felipe does go a little bit wide there, giving Carmo space on the edge. They're side by side right now. So coming into the complex, Felipe has to back off the gas and let him through. There it is. Managing to avoid incidents between the two of them, but that gives space for Miguel and Ayrton to run away a little bit. But here comes Miguel with the dive. Tight line coming into the hairpin there, takes the position away. Coming out really close there is Ayrton Reutemann to the left, rear left wheel well of Miguel there. De Carmo hanging on the background, waiting for an opportunity to strike.
Oh, that camera angle was close. Really just shows what margins these guys are working with. Here we go. Alec Brown just got onto the curb a bit too aggressively there and came in at an acute angle and just launched the car in control. And that is Miguel Araujo who spun it at the hairpin. I'm not sure if he got tagged or anything, but he'll be kicking himself after he just got overtaken by Reutemann. He's now dropped all the way down. It's now Reutemann and Bruno De Carmo fighting, and now Bruno De Carmo has spun it. Yes, he has, and he got absolutely yeeted. Yep, his front left, you can see I think it's only attached by one suspension piece, and I think I jinxed him there, saying that he might be able to go for the Grand Slam.
And now the front runners, out of the three, only one remains, is Anton Reutemann. He's back in P3, same position he was in during the last heat, so now he has to make it past Gerard Sardeni, as well as Pedro Dean, who is eking out a considerable lead on this track right now. 1.6 seconds in front of P2 is no small feat, and Miguel Araujo has a bit of time to catch back up. He wants to get the position back. If he can make it past Alejandro Dantas, he might still be in contention for a podium finish. But for Bruno De Carmo, his race might just be over for the time being. I don't think he'll be able to rejoin the race anytime soon. As here comes Miguel going in for the tight line, passing Alejandro Dantas, but Alejandro Dantas follows the position back, and he has the inside track for the next couple left-handers. Holds onto the position just a little bit, but might overcook it a little bit. On to turn 2 there. Miguel tries to win for that, goes in for the inside line. Seems to be able to take it. They're side by side along as they're coming into the complex. Yes, Alejandro Dantas having to back off as well, giving space for Miguel to make it through. And Miguel has to drive as hard as he can in order to catch back up to Anton Reutemann.
Here we go. This is what happened with Bruno, and that is pretty much wheel locking there. Maybe not as tight as it was in Heat 1. And then, just for good measure, got hit by his teammate there. Nothing he can do to avoid that, and you can see the front left there wobbling away, and he realized right there, it's over for me. He won Heat 1, didn't get the same amount of luck in Heat 2, but it's going to be tough for Miguel Araujo to catch up to Anton Reutemann. I mean, they were pretty much level pegging in Heat 1. I think he needs to count on the likes of Gerard Sardini, maybe even Pedro Dean to hold him up, or another lap car. We did see in Heat 1 that can happen. We've still got 27 laps to go, so anything can still happen here tonight.
Yeah, definitely, and I definitely agree with you that it was pretty much on pace, but Anton Reutemann did have a little bit of laps in focus near the very end there, so maybe he can use, Miguel can use that to capitalize on any mistakes that happens early on. But 3 seconds is a big gap to close out in a track this short. That is pretty much eternity here. But Gerard Sardeni, coming off a relatively lackluster performance in Heat 1, is clawing it back if he's really going on the redemption drive here, as is Pedro Dean, holding on to that lead. In fact, Pedro Dean is just slowly extending that gap, so we definitely know he is a contender, and he's definitely proving it right here.
I think he knows he just needs to put his foot down and build a big gap to Gerard Sardini. Reutemann is not really catching up as quick as I thought he would. Seems like all these drivers who were in the mid-pack in Heat 1 were only there because they got put up in the early incidents, and there weren't as many incidents in Heat 2 as Heat 1, which is always good to see these drivers being a bit more calm and collected. But there is a whole gang of cars, I think lap cars, out of Pedro Dean. I'm not sure, that might be Pedro Dean right there in front. He's either got 2 cars behind him, or 2 cars in front, or 1 in front, or he might be leading that pack. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But I think he has certainly been held up by those lap cars.
Yeah, definitely. And Gerard Sardeni really used this opportunity to close the gap a little bit, but I think Pedro Dean will be making it past them in no time at all, as he is now in front of the back markers, which means that Gerard is going to have to make it through as quickly as he can in order to maintain this gap right now. It was 1.1 seconds at the end of the hairpin, now extended back to 1.5 seconds. So as long as he doesn't make it past these 2 back markers, he's still going to be losing time to Pedro Dean here. And Anton Reutemann is going to be seizing this opportunity to try and catch back up as well.
Yeah, one thing you need to remember is that these guys have the same back markers to deal with. It's just all about catching them at the right time. A place where you don't want to catch them is in the fast chicane complex going into the long right-hander, as there's not really a place to let them by there. But for now, it seems like the lap car of, I think that's Spetrinov, is keeping up with Pedro Dean somehow. As Sardini quicker in Sector 1, but slow in Sector 2. So it seems like these guys are just trading blows for now. Looking at Reutemann, he's caught up to Araujo. The gap now is only 4 tenths, so I think Miguel got held up as well.
Yeah, I think actually what happened is that Miguel actually made it past Reutemann. Reutemann was in P3 earlier. Miguel just caught him unawares that he's now ahead of Reutemann. We might need to get a replay as to where that overtake happened, because I didn't even see it happen near the hairpin. But it is done, and Miguel is now up into the podium. Reutemann not going to be pipped the second time, but he is stressing the car past its limits, trying to make it past his back marker. Ooh, back marker is holding up the inside line, so he can't go for it, which means that Miguel might have a bit of a nicer exit out there, but Reutemann is closing the distance with him.
Yeah, the back marker was parked on the apex, but Reutemann is still right there with him, really pushing it right to the limit of the cross there, you can see. And these time, I mean, they were in the leading pack of Heat 1, and they're certainly setting the pace for now. But I think Pedro Dean, so far, has got this race controlled and calm. It doesn't seem like he's pushing too hard now. After he pushed hard on the opening laps, Reutemann seemed like he got the better run, but nothing he can do out of there. He's real close behind him. He goes for a late apex into turn 2, hopes to get the better one, and I think he is going deep there. Miguel Rojo and they're now side by side, but he's got the inside and he squeezed him out onto the grass there, and he's going P3.
Yeah, Miguel, I think, overcooked the entry to that a little bit, which means that now he's back exactly where he started at the near the beginning, chasing down at the Reutemann, see if he can make it work. So Miguel, we definitely know that he is on pace with Reutemann, but when it comes to holding that position, really not being able to do so just yet. Probably still has to get used to the car a little bit, but we're just over halfway in the race so far. Pedro Dean still holding on to that gap. 1.3 seconds is separating him from Sardini in P2, and another 6 seconds is separating Reutemann from Sardini. So 6 seconds is way too much time to be making up.
Absolutely, especially if these two keep fighting it for B3. I mean, it would still be 2 podiums in a row for one of them, that is, if they don't come together. Hoping that I don't jinx that I've already destroyed one guy's race here tonight with the commentator's curse. As it seems like, I would say they're very equal on pace. You just need to hope that the guy in front makes a mistake, goes wide, or gets onto the grass. We saw that in Heat 1, that can be detrimental, as you can see right there. Right up to the gearbox goes Araujo, and he is just looking left, looking right, looking under, looking above the Reutemann, looking where he can find a way past.
Yeah, and Miguel definitely really at his most aggressive when it comes to that hairpin there, trying to see if he can squeeze it through as coming up to the complex now. And coming up to the hairpin yet again is Miguel. Not close enough. It looks like he's going to end up trying to take a tighter line yet again. Will he get a better run up? On the power, a little bit too late there, not being able to make out any more time as well. And that's the thing with these cars, as we mentioned before, the lack of downforce really makes it so you have to be careful where you place the car at the exit and when you step on the throttle, because if you go too hard and you stamp the throttle on the exit, you could just end up spinning the rear wheels and then going into a 360.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we saw just that with people pushing too hard in Heat 1, especially at the end of it and at the beginning. So, yeah, but Miguel, it seems like he's calmed it down this lap at least. It seems like he needs to re-engage, catch back up after he went slightly deep, hoping for a better run, which I think that would work if there would be a straigaway and not a double left-hander right after that corner. But he's just so close, but it must be getting frustrating for Miguel Araujo, where he's closing him but not by enough, and he doesn't have a big enough advantage to where he can overtake. And the gap between P1 and P2 has shrunk a bit. Gaps now 1.3, was 1.6 for a bit. So Pedro Dean and Sardini are just trading blows right now. For lap times, just one guy pushing, then the next lap shilling. I think this is the battle we should be focusing on, the battle for P3. These guys have been fighting throughout Heat 1 and all the way into Heat 2. They dropped one of their compadres and their fellow racers. Oh, and is the tire off? It's hard to tell, but it seems like that lap car just got no scope by the rear left tire of Reutemann as... Wait, they're suddenly up to P2. Someone must have spun. Wait, oh, Sardini, he spun. That's it. Sardini is the white car there. And I think Sardini got held up by the lap car. I'm very confused to what happened, but I think that's what just happened there.
Yeah, I think you might be right. The car at the end of the clip could have been just a bit of a netcode thing. Probably ended up fine. As you can see, Alec Brown there is still charging along with no issues whatsoever. And yes, Sardini may have actually spun it on the hairpin, it looks like, which is probably why they managed to catch back up. But all of a sudden, they're on the podium, but the battle is still not letting up.
Nope, now both of them are on the podium, but they're fighting for P2. 8 seconds though, 11 laps. They're not going to get it unless Pedro Dean gets massively held up by a lap car or makes a mistake. He just needs to do what he's done for the past 26 laps, which is keep it cool, calm, collected, and keep his head in the game, which is what we've been saying throughout qualifying and throughout this race weekend and session. Who's gonna get it then? Miguel Araujo or Ayrton Reutemann? In Heat 1, Araujo managed to get past Reutemann late on, but I think this time he's gonna be a lot more concerned about that, and he'll be staring into his rearview mirrors 24/7 into each braking zone as they've now caught up to the next lap car, and it seems like they're catching up in the hairpin, which can put you off just a bit there. But this is the leader then, Pedro Dean, 8 seconds. He's chilling, isn't he, Damon?
Yeah, definitely. He really doesn't have to push it any more than he does. Conserve tires, try to really keep it nice and consistent throughout the race. You've got about 9 laps left, so that's about, divided by 2, that's about 4.5 minutes left in race time, more or less. And Miguel as well, I think he's trying to push a little bit too hard from what we can see early on. All he really has to do is apply a slight amount of pressure and kind of wait for Reutemann to make an unforced error. But of course, that's not entirely reliable most of the time. So, you know, definitely just have to really keep it steady. Try to make sure you don't get into any incidents or any unforced errors of your own, as we saw with Sardini there. And you should be okay. You're both on the podium, not a bad result entirely. And Pedro Dean here really redeeming himself for the what's the term I'm looking for? The disappointing
unfortunate
that he had. That's also the right word, yeah.
Depends how you see it. Unfortunate that he got taken out. Disappointing that he ended up plumb last. But he's turned that reverse grid and he's used that very wisely and put him on the front of the grid. He didn't screw up the start. He led into turn 1 and he is leading by 8.5 seconds, but still Miguel Araujo, he cannot find a way past in the arguably the best livery out of the lot, I would argue. But he's not got enough power. Someone spun. It's not Pedro Dean, luckily. Don't worry guys, he didn't spin it there. Seems like it was a lap car. Got out of the way nicely.
Yeah, which is pretty good for him as well. He's still really increasing the pace despite what we thought was him just hanging back a bit, but the gap hasn't really been decreasing. In fact, it's been increasing ever so slightly. As Miguel, he's always been trying to make a move on his hairpin, but he's never really close enough to make it stick. As we're now down to lap 32 or 37, at 5 laps remaining in this heat, in this race even, and Miguel, as you said, he might be getting a little bit desperate.
Yeah, he's right behind him where he wants to be alongside or past him. This is where you want to be, right behind him, going out of that complex and onto the straight. But you see, he's not far enough behind. Then as soon as they get out of the overtaking section, he is right behind. He almost had him there, and I think he would have had him if it would have been either A, right-hander, or B, a straight line like we've said. But now he's the closest he's ever been. He just needs to stick behind for now. He's going to have a short slipstream down this mini straightaway going into my favorite section of the lap, and he is really close behind him. This is where he needs a good run. This is where you need to put every last piece of grip that you have in the rear tires, but he's not managed to get it. Maybe he has that on the switchback there from left to right. Is he alongside, but he's not got the inside. And it's just a carbon copy of the past 33 laps, isn't it, Eamon?
Yeah, and I think what Reutemann has done is he's found the ultimate defensive line through that hairpin, which makes it so that if Miguel goes in tight, he ends up losing speed throughout the hairpin and then not be able to make it up on the exit. If he goes wide, he ends up losing way too much speed regardless. So I think that Reutemann has kind of cracked the code when it comes to defensive lines here. And he's going in tight as well to defend against Araujo, so Araujo doesn't have that attack anymore to use. And we're coming up to third to last lap here, 2 laps remaining. And yeah, Reutemann is just doing a pretty good job at defending. No laps in focus, no laps in concentration this time. He is just keeping it 100% all the way to the finish here. But I hope I don't jinx it.
Yeah, and look at this. He just parks it on the apex. Oh, this time he was a bit off, but last lap he did it exceptionally well. He just parked it on the apex to where Araujo, he cannot do the switchback because, well, there's a car in the way and he's supposed to be a bit more careful on throttle, and that's exactly what you've said, Reutemann. He's cracked the defensive code, and sometimes the best defense is the best offense, and the best offense has gone him into P2, gaining 8 places. Araujo has gained 8 as well, but now he's starting to fall back, and I think Araujo has noticed that he's running out of time, and well, Pedrodin has started the final lap, so is he gonna go full send for it? I think he'll just stick mine and take the P3. If Reutemann makes a tiny mistake, he will be right. You can see how close he gets, but it's just on the exit where he loses a bit of time there. If Reutemann does not dip a tire on the grass or anything, I don't think Araujo will be able to get past. He's just half a car length, maybe even a quarter of a car length too far back then, as they are catching up to a lap car a bit too late. There you go, heat winner Pedrodin in the Hot Wheels livery. What a drive from him, 8.5 seconds ahead of P2, and P2 will be Artur Reutemann. And running out the podium, it's going to be Miguel Araujo, and that was constant fighting, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 100% from both drivers for the past, I want to say past 20 laps even. That's how long they were contesting for, and it just felt like they had to give their A game 100% of the time. But Artur Reutemann managing to hold it on to the very end. Araujo unable to make any headways, but will have to settle for a podium spot regardless, so he's not going to be too disappointed about that. And the race results here are going to be as follows, as the results coming up on screen in just a little bit. There we go. Your session winner there with a frozen camera is Pedrodin. With P2 being Artur Reutemann, Miguel Araujo rounding out the podium spots. Gerard Sardini unfortunately had a bit of a spin and dropped down to P4 with Evandro Dantas in P5, Thiago Pereira P6, Tim State P7, Felipe Spetridiv in P8, Alec Brown in P9, and Bruno Carmo, really unfortunate circumstance for him, dropping down to P10 after an amazing qualifying session and an amazing Heat 1. Fastest lap here held by Pedrodin to nobody's surprise, and yeah, definitely going to be really happy with that result. And that pretty much wraps up race 5 here, and well, it was neck and neck for a couple of these drivers all the way till the very end. Julian, how was it for you? Did you enjoy it?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, as commentary, but also as a spectator, I mean, I was holding my breath for some moments. They got real close, especially with wheel locking, like we've mentioned. That is a real scary part of these Formula race. Great race though, I mean, constant battles, and when it wasn't battling, it was also a tactical game, seeing if you can get past maybe with a better exit or hoping that a lap car can get in the way. And we saw, especially in Heat 2, where Miguel just could not find a way past. He tried everything, he threw everything at Reutemann. Reutemann held firm and managed to secure an excellent P2.
Yeah, and props to all of them for managing to do a substantial drive. Of course, some drivers more successful than others. Some of them might be disappointed about what happened near the tail end of it, but regardless, our socials are down there. We have Instagram, you can watch the stream on Twitch, We have X, formerly known as Twitter profile. You can join us on our Discord server if you want to chat with some of the drivers. We have highlights as well as full VODs on YouTube. You can sign up to race at amxrace.com, and we also have short form content on TikTok. But this is only the first race of the night, ladies and gentlemen. We have another one in just a little bit. In fact, we have in about 25 minutes, it seems like. So yeah, stick around. We'll be back with AMX 15 and another German track, this time around in Hockenheim. So we'll see you then.
Max Verstappen back into first place. They want to make that move, but here goes Gustavo Ariel diving to the inside. Gael Valero looking for the move over Archie Neumann. He has it.
And you can just see Peter Zuba pushing Florian Labigra right over.
Oh, Chris Lundholm, he does make that pass.
Gael Valero doing his best on the outside, gets sideways, and no, the teammates crash. We had the number 11 going right there. 3 wide out there in the middle of the field through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shots of the entire season.
Towards the Mickey Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash.
2 wide now, door to door. Max Verstappen to Van der Dantes. Max Verstappen able to safely rejoin. Slots it right in front of another car.
Carousel immediately, he gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone up, he's been tapped, and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin. Oh,
and
no.
Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lundholm does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right hand. And this is it. Chris Lundholm seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lundholm takes it.
Miranda Peter Zuba into the wall.
It's actually Valero. Valero's actually gone off into the barriers coming up to the cutting.
David Taub making his way back up has already climbed 7 positions.
Oh! Oh, spoke too soon there. Sandy goes up.
So right now, this is going to be where it's going to get shaken up. David Toth passes them while they are in the pit through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
So we have 3-way battle going to the most dangerous turn of the mountain. Up the mountain, we have contact right there. These guys going absolutely crazy. It's going to come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Who is going to have to lead? We may have a drag race to the finish line on our hands, folks. You see David Toth right now going into the pit lane.
We go racing for heat number 1 here in Austria. Over AMX 20 in towards the nicking out a curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash. That's a huge lunge from Gaston Calabi, and he's made contact with, I believe, oh wow, it's a chaotic moment here. And slipstream in front for either car, and you can just see Meta Silva pushing Florian Levigra right over.
Here we go then. Valeri, he looks left, he looks right. He's going to choose the right hand side, which is the inside going 8 to 10 3.
Here it is. This is the crucial moment in this race. It's looking like it's only going one way. David Dott is going to take the race lead. Heading into the second half of the season, the Hungarian of David Dott has driven a masterclass here with the early pit stop. Not the ideal strategy, but an ideal race winner and an excellent performance.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Race 6, Season 6 of AMX. We're heading to the Hockenheimring in the Radical SR8 V8.
Sorry about that. I think my mic was muted for a bit. Anyways, yes. As Julian said, we are still in Germany here at Hockenheim with the Radicals and East right now. Rare unfortunate error from my end, an unforced error actually, so I shouldn't be on track anymore. So yeah, we're back. My name is Damon. I'm joined here by Julian, and we've had one heck of a race at Oschersleben earlier on in the Formula 4. This time, different German track, different car. What are you expecting to see here this time?
More of the same, I hope. I mean, that was brilliant action. More of a classical track, Hockenheim, being a bit more well known. And to be honest, it's one of my personal favorites. I mean, it's been a while since I've driven it on any sim, but it's such a good track. It's got everything: high speed, low speed, technical sections. It's a masterpiece.
Definitely so, and even more so back then as well. We have our socials at the bottom just a bit. There they are: Instagram, Twitch, X, formerly known as Twitter. You can join our discussions here on the Discord server AMX Global. Our YouTube channel will have full VODs as well as highlights and shorts. AMXrace.com, where you can sign up to race, as well as short form content on TikTok. And just before we get into the race, of course, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping, so we'll get on that in just a second as we're cutting to it right now. AMX SimRacing World Championship Season 6 overview. Dates have been running. We started last week on September 7th, and we will be running all the way to November 17th. A season prize pool of $11,000 as well as next level gear. Now the race format for AMX 5 is as follows. We have a 20-minute qualifier. Top 15 results from the qualifier will be shuffled into reverse grid order for the first heat, and then will be shuffled yet again into top reverse grid order for the second heat. For this one, first heat is about 35 minutes, the second heat is 25 minutes, so about 10 minutes less. Driver cams are of course required, with payout balances over $100 will be paid out to all the drivers every month. Our race days are on Saturday and Sunday, and you can sign up to race anytime at amxrace.com. In fact, you can probably even sign up now if you want to be part of this race. Schedule is as follows. Today is a Saturday, so AMX 5 here starting at 7:10 p.m. GMT. And then tomorrow we'll have AMX 15, one race starting at 5:50 p.m. GMT. Our prize pool is as follows. You can see here, qualifying time will be $12.50 for the fastest qualifying, and slowly going down. Heat 1, of course, being a longer heat than Heat 2, will be paying out a little bit more. We have $25 for first place in Heat 1, and going back down to $12.50 for Heat 2. Fastest lap bonus is, however, the same for both heats at $2 apiece. And you need a minimum road iRating of 2,000 in order to take part in AMX 5. Yes, we didn't mention this earlier on, but we are doing a giveaway. We're giving away 5 free tickets for the AMX 15 race. This is only for Twitch viewers, unfortunately, so if you are on Twitch, be sure to type in !AMX15 in the chat to join the giveaway, and hopefully walk away with a bunch of free pass into the next race here. This is, tomorrow actually, GT3 class at Donovan Park, so if you get lucky, you could probably take part as well and be part of the action. So now I'm handing it over to Julian to guide you through the track as well as the cars that we will be taking on track tonight.
Thank you very much, Dan. Well, we're in Baden, Württemberg and the Rhine Valley in the beautiful city of Hockenheim in Germany. This track was first opened in 1932. It's got 16 corners then, 10 to the right, 6 to the left, with a length of just about 4.5 kilometers. And the car that we will be seeing today is an interesting one. It's the Radical SR8 V8, 380 horsepower rear-wheel drive with 680 kilos in terms of weight. Looks like it's a whole bit lighter. And in terms of gearbox, we're using the paddle shifters, the sequential gearbox in this bit.
Thank you very much, Julian. And we're jumping right into qualifying here. As you can see, we already have a bunch of times on the board. We've got 12 drivers on the grid right now. One not currently holding the fastest lap time. And yeah, Hockenheimring, wonderful track, lots of technical sections, lots of high-speed sections as well. And the cars, my god, the Radical. I like to call this little mini LMP cars because they're high power, very low curb weight, and quite a lot of downforce as well. But downforce helps you in the high speed corners, doesn't really help you in low speed. So these cars are very, very twitchy in these low speed sections.
Well, speaking of twitchy and low speed, seemed like they were also twitchy in high speed there through turn 1, which is a very high speed corner there. You definitely do not want to go side by side through there. But yeah, but Hockenheimring, it's an interesting one. You've got this long back straight, the Parabolica, but then you've also got the technical stadium section in sector 3, and you can scan that QR code on the right hand side of your screen to get a live timing, so you can be a proper analysis when it comes to AMX 5.
Yeah, definitely. So be sure to scan that QR code if you want to see your favorite drivers there and cheer them on as well in the live timing boards. They're not still holding on to that fastest lap position right now. We've got about 13 minutes left in qualifying, so there's still plenty of time for them to set fast lap. We're doing around 134, 135s per lap, so quite a bit of time. And they're struggling to keep the car under control as it's coming on the exit there. And as of course, we do have to mention that the reason why the first heat is longer than the second heat is because for heat 1, there will be a mandatory pit stop required for every driver at any point during the race, while heat 2 is a complete sprint from start to finish, so no pit stops there. But it does bring up the topic of strategy when it comes to heat 1 as well, because you do want to make sure you have the best possible run throughout heat 1 to secure that good position for heat 2 later on. As Montana is going into the pits now, we have Guy Valero, of course, joining us this time around for AMX 5, our consecutive back-to-back AMX champion here. Always a sight to see him, always a treat to see him, of course, on track.
Yep, well, just now he was bumped out of P2, but he's currently on his lap and he's about to finish it. As already some interesting liveries that I'm seeing, so always funny to see. We should have a competition for the best livery. I mean, there's such goofy ones which it just gets the drivers a bit out of their shell and not going with a basic one, being a bit creative, which, as we all know, is worth at least half an extra horsepower having a custom livery. But for now, it's Juan Blenarten who leads the way. I hope I pronounced that right, by 1.5 tenths ahead of this guy right here, Tobias Soriano. So he's not too far behind. Of course, anything can happen. We're not even halfway through this qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to what you mentioned before, I think there should be a cash bonus for best livery on the grid. Really can't talk to production to make that happen. But regardless, yeah, Guy Valero here, sporting a different livery than he normally does. Kenwood livery here, looking very nice and clean in that red and black color scheme, kind of mirroring what he's wearing right now, actually. But yeah, Guy Valero there, one of our top drivers here in AMX. Always a treat to see him going around this track, and he always delivers that. Oh, I mixed it up. Guy Valero is sitting in a great shirt with the wrong livery. That was Toby Soriano, I think, that was on the camera in this town. But yeah, it's kind of weird to see them matching liveries to the cars, even though the drivers aren't wearing the same outfit. I'm babbling right now.
They look quite similar, I was about to say, or is that just me? Are they distant cousins or something, or am I just a bit goofy today? But seem fairly similar, and they are currently both P2 and P3. Valero a bit further behind, and if he can get himself onto the front row or pole position where he's pretty much used to, I mean, that spot is pretty much reserved for him. most occasions, but it seems like with a slightly interesting car, which is not a traditional race car, I would say, he's not as confident with us. We're now more with Bruno De Carmo, who won Heat 1 of our previous race here in AMX. Then he is looking to get 2 wins then in one race week, then on one race day, I should say, as he's really fighting the car with the steering wheel there across the line. And is he going to improve? I don't think he did improve. Yeah, he did not improve on that lap, so he's going to go again. And you can just see how aggressive they are on the exit of turn 1, going right up onto the curb and bouncing over it.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that actually speaks to the car itself, being how it's set up. Very stiff suspension, of course, and very low to the ground. Short wheelbase, which means that it can be quite tricky when it comes to making corners. So you have to be very deliberate with your throttle control, otherwise the car is just going to bite back. And it seems that Bruno Carmo was fighting it for a bit, has kept it under control thus far. The other drivers are doing the same thing as well. Haven't really seen anything else other than that. But yeah, Bruno De Carmo probably trying to see if he can claw back the win after what was a disappointing performance on his end over the last AMX ZERO race. Pedro Dean as well on the course right now, and Guy Valero got pipped out of the podium spot by Alberto Senao here. You can see on your screen right now, again, another very aggressive driver here. They trying to fight to keep the car under control, and with the drivers that we're seeing on the grid right now, it's the start of the season, so I can't really take predictions on who's really going to deliver the best performance. But when it comes to the top half, I kind of usually have a pretty good idea of who's going to be up there.
Yep, as Valero goes P2, then less than a tenth of Hornblade now, too, still leading the pack away. So far it seems like he's got the most space, but we've still got quite a bit of time left. And then of course the reverse of 15 going into Heat 1 and Heat 2 then, as Valero, he's still pushing it until, well, he's definitely a fan favorite and you should never count him out. That is for sure, isn't it, Damon?
Yeah, definitely. We know for a fact that Valero is pretty much more comfortable with GT3's car, GT3, because that is his particular wheelhouse, and you can see that he's trying to get some heat into his tires to ensure that he has the best possible grip when it comes to taking these fast laps. But so far, Montpellier still holding strong in that P1 position. Valero does have his work cut out for him just a little bit.
Well, as we know, qualifying pace and race pace, those are two completely separate things. You can be rapid in qualifying, or you can have a problem with your pedals. It seems like Juan had there, looking down, and that was the reaction to bad quality pedals, I would say, as we'll have to hope he can get them up and running. He's got 7 or so minutes, probably a bit more, to get them running, and he's going to hope that no one pips his provisional pole time, which I think is quite likely. Valero, he's not too far behind, and he's still out there getting more confident with his current track. And don't forget this man as well, Bruno De Carmo. On his day, he can definitely be there as well. 23.6 he just set, which puts him E5 out of Pedro Dean.
Yeah, definitely a lot of drivers to look out for here on track this time around. Pedro Dean, Bruno De Carmo. Definitely faster than good days, but for AMX specifically, the word of the day is consistency. You have to stay consistent, you have to put in fast times constantly and not really make any mistakes. And Valero is one of those drivers who very rarely makes unforced errors, and that's why he's been popped off for quite a while now. He's getting fit by Montpellier just a little bit. Still trying to see if we can beat that qualifying time. But Bruno De Carmo and all the other drivers not that far behind. In fact, almost top 10 times, or we did the second one of them.
Indeed, that is very close, especially in a very technical track. Then we see Pedro Dean here from a new camera angle, so when we get to see his entire setup there, of course he won Heat 2 in the previous AMX ZERO race, but Valero's still out there improving with just 4 minutes 30 left to go in the session. Dave, I do think we'll see some stretching the pit stops. There's no tire changing or fuel, but maybe if you're stuck in traffic a bit early to go out or some fresh air, or go all the way until minute 34 out of 35 and then pit.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty sound strategy. In fact, I think because I was watching actually a race at an event earlier this afternoon, and they pretty much talked the exact same way about the pit strategy. Is that if you're stuck in traffic, what you want to be doing is getting into the pit quite early, in clean air, making sure that you can always be on pace at your best pace, and then if you're in front, what you really want to be doing is trying to see how much of a gap you can take over the car behind you before you take your pit. And hopefully your tires will last you long enough. I think for this particular instance, tires should be more than adequate, so they don't really have to do anything more than maybe add a liter of fuel for the cars. But yeah, regardless, pit strategy definitely going to be playing a substantial factor here.
Remember folks, that is only in Heat 1. Then Heat 2, it's pretty much a straight sprint from lights out to the checkered flag, as Pedrodin there, I think never mind, he did not improve, or he improved his time, I think, but not his position. Tobias Soriano also improving, but we're now on board, or not on board, looking at Gerard Sardini then, who's got a nice triple screen setup. I love looking at these guys' setup. I mean, you've got something like this, and then you've got someone just driving on a single screen. It really is pictures of both worlds, myself being one of those fellow guys who's got the wheel mounted to the table, and
yeah,
can only dream of a setup like this one, to be honest.
Hey man, some of us are just luckier than others, I guess. In fact, I specifically don't even have a sim rig set up at all. I don't even have the wheels, so all I can do is really admire these drivers for putting in time, commit to their racecraft, be the best racer they can possibly be, and deliver us and the viewers at home an amazing performance.
And look at the top three, look how close they are. Juan Blenat, Via Soriano and Gael Valero within less than a tenth of a second, even before there, Alberto Sanoa. He's not too far behind as well, so it is real tight here around Hockenheim. You can see just how hard they're pushing, maximizing every inch of the track, running out wide to the gravel and the grass. They're even touching it at some points there, as I think Sardini did not improve that time around, but it's such fine margins, as these will be the final laps of qualifying. And can Valero or Soriano get pole position from Juan Blenat? Well, it's now or never, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely they have to be on track to set their pace. And just looking on Gerard Sardini's car right now, with onboard view, you can see just how dangerous taking some of these corners in, because of how low the car sits to the ground. Taking curbs is very, very daring maneuvers, I say, but it's kind of necessary in order to get the best line through these corners. So, just as I said that, the car behind him just went off into the barriers. I'm not sure which car that was. I think that might be Reutemann. And just like that, I think that was Valero's car. He's just gone off as well. And another car just gone off. That's immediately 3 cars, and their laps completely sacked off. Oh, wow, that's really
They're dropping like flies.
We still have some cars
That's
on
its
track,
quality.
however. Definitely. Oh my god, what an intense qualifying session. We haven't even started the race yet, and already cars are starting to fly. Vinicius Dean here on his final lap, and it looks like he sacked that off as well, which means that this final lap ended up being quite a nothing burger for a lot of these drivers. Unfortunate for Gal Valero. He was definitely looking forward to sending a fast lap. Gonna have to settle for that P3 though.
Wow, well, that's 2 chaotic qualifying sessions in a row. Now, I don't know what happened to those 3 drivers there. They were dropping like flies at them.
Yeah, definitely. And so, here are your qualifying results. Will be coming up on screen in just a little bit. And there we go, Juan Blenat there holding on to pole. the fastest lap in qualifying throughout the entire qualifying session almost. Kobayashi Soriano in P2 there, Valero holding on to that P3. Alberto Sanao barely missed the podium by about a tenth and a bit. Bruno Carmo in P5, Pedro in P6, Miguel Araujo in P7, Gerard Sardini in P8, Evandro Dantas in P9, Ayrton Reutemann P10, Vinicius Dean is in P11, and Tim State will be rounding out the 12 races on the grid, which means he will be starting on pole for Heat 1. And from these results immediately, Julian, what are your preliminary assessments?
It's gonna be close. It's gonna be mighty fine. I mean, look at that, top 7, half a second, top 10 within 7.5 tenths. It's gonna be mighty close. These guys are gonna be bumper to tail or bumper to bumper throughout these entire 35 minutes or 37 minutes even. And a pit stop, I mean, it could be huge, and I think we will see this race being won or lost on strategy.
Yep, and we'll just have to see how these drivers will formulate their strategies, whether or not they've already got everything planned out, or whether they'll have to come up with an adaptation on the fly. But here we go, we're getting into race 1 in just a little bit. It is, of course, AMX 5 here, standing start for all the drivers as they're rolling up into the green. Oh no, it's not a standing start, in fact, it's a rolling start. They're going one marine lap, one safety lap around the course first. So, yeah, the launch doesn't matter as much, but if you get a good run out on the start finish rate, you're going to end up in a pretty favorable position for yourself. Here is the grid right now. Tim State in pole position, Vinicius Dean P2, Anton Reutemann, Evandro Dantas, Gerard Sardini running up top 5, Miguel Araujo, Pedro Dean, Bruno Carmo, Alberto Senao, Gael Valero starting in P10, and Tobias Soriano as well as Juan Plena rounding up the back of the grid. So they're going to have a bit of a tall order in order to make it to the front yet again. But if there's anything we know from these drivers over the past couple of seasons that I've tuned in and watched them and commentated over their races, is that these drivers definitely can deliver when the time is right. You can see them swerving, get some temperature in their tires just before the start finish straight, and yeah, Julian, I know it's going to be a very tough one to call.
It's gonna be a tough one. I mean, look at these guys. You can tell that they're just ready to go racing. They can't wait any second longer. They need to chill a bit though in the final sector. That pace car needs to trying to run away as quickly as can. That stop Porsche with these 12 drivers chasing it. Now the pace car sets off, and Tim State will lead Vinicius Dean and the pack away. When will the green flags be waving? We're waiting for them to accelerate, and I think, yep, it is now, and it seems like there's gale, because it's a very wide made straight, and you definitely don't want to go be pinched on the inside. There was always some wheel banging in the back of them, but it seems like everyone's made it cleanly through turn 1. As towards turn 2 now, they chase. Look at that, 3 wide there in the back right now, 2 and 2, 4 abreast going into turn 2. How they managed that, I do not know, but it seems like Pedro Dean has gone the best run out of the turn 2, 3, and 4 complex. Never mind, I think he's just run, and there's a big accident, but I think 2 or 3 cars off, and that's a big hit there on Juan Blainat, and I think Bruno Carmo just managed to escape through there. I'm sure we'll get a replay. Back to the front now. The second Dean goes for the lead, but he breaks too late, and he's gone deep at the hip, and he's going to lose 1 and 2 and not 3 positions, but down to P3, and what a chaotic start that was.
Absolutely. I mean, turn 1 was safe, and I thought, oh well, I guess that's it, and they'll be fine for lap 1. And then immediately chaos happens at turn 3. Tim State there losing positions back to Vinicius Dean, making it in front of him. Evandro Dantas currently in pole position. Tim State trying to claw back that P2 spot away. He is still holding on to it pretty well, but drivers in the back, of course, we have Gael Valero and Ayrton Reutemann facing them now, as well as Pedro Dean. These top 3, these 3 drivers are definitely going to complement the game for the time being. But we'll will the drivers in front be able to hold them off? We'll have to wait and see. 22 laps, that means that at any point during this lap, all of these drivers have to pit at least once. And you can see mid-pack, Pedrodine and Juan Renan are already taking their pits early. Pretty confident in their ability to hold the fuel and the tires all the way to the end of the race and want to race in clean air here. Roby Soriano also making it into the pits. So that's 3 drivers taking their first pit stop already. And yeah, immediately we get to see what strategies these drivers are going for.
Yeah, I think their main thought behind that was that they don't want to get caught up in any accidents, as I think we'll see a replay now of the turn 3-4 incident. And it seems like 2 guys getting oversteered, synchronized beautifully, and then someone getting hit there, the number 7 being hit, and then a straight T-bone collision there between the number 1 and the number 4. I'm trying to think who that would be. Number 1, that's Tobias Soriano there, so he's down and out of it now. But yeah, I think they pit early just so they don't get involved in collisions like that one, David.
Yeah, definitely, and that just really goes to show what we've been talking about earlier on during qualifying, is that these cars, you really have to fight to keep them under control. I mean, 380 horsepower in a car that weighs less than 700 kilos is very, very twitchy under throttle as well, so definitely going to have to be struggling there. They've got a lot of downforce, but downforce can will try its best to overcome the power, but yeah, you can see Tim State there also struggling under control. There's Gal Valero right behind Eric Reutemann here. He's going to make it past Tim State. It looks like at turn 1 here. Gal Valero trying to get past Tim State as well. It looks like he will do just that. Tim State giving him the room. Here comes Gal Valero making it into the dive here at turn 3. Oh, very clean pass from Gal Valero there, holding on to it. Excellent dive actually from Valero.
I don't know if that was the best move though, as now Reutemann behind, he's going to have the slipstream effect quite big in these cars as they're quite big and bulky, but it seems like Reutemann, he's just going to stay behind Valero. That's a crucial double overtaker. Someone's gone straight on, and is that Tim State, or never mind, it's a lap car there going straight on and letting them by nicely there.
Yeah, Sardini letting them through there, knows that he cannot interfere with this battle between Gal Valero and Reutemann. Tim State is hanging back a bit, still fighting the car, keep it under control. You can see the back there. Meanwhile, the other 2 drivers in front are keeping it pretty nice and smooth. Evandro Dantas now has Gal Valero on his tail. About seconds hitting them right now, but that gap could shorten at any moment. As Juan Renan, our top qualifier in the last heat, currently struggling to make it up to the pack. He is in P8 right now, trying to catch up to Pedrodine here.
Yeah, he has already made his pit stop though. Yes, he has. There you go. The top 6 yet to make the pit stop. So these guys, they don't want to fight because that's what they're relying on everyone else to do to lose time. They just need to keep it clean, overtake each other in a straight, not go side by side through turns like turn 1, 2, 3, 4, and the stadium section, and even the Mercedes-Benz corner. You don't want to go side by side through there. You lose heaps of time. And next guy into the pit lane is George Sardini. 2 stops now for him, so I think the first one for repairs maybe, and the second one to the actual pit stop. He's not too far behind this pack of cars, but look at Valero. He's already caught up to Evandro Dantas in the lead, but Pedrodine also being haunted by Juan Blena.
Yeah, and Gal Valero's strategy when it comes to races that improve pit stops, usually he will try to make his way to the front of the pack as quickly as possible and then extend the gap as much as he could before he picks that pit. So he tends to pit quite late compared to some of the other drivers here. And he is chasing down Evandro Dantas right now. Dantas under a considerable amount of pressure here from Gal Valero. Will he be able to hold on to that lead for long? Doesn't look like that's the case, as he is still struggling here. And this final sector of Hockenheimring is actually very, very tight and narrow. So when it comes to overtaking, you really have to be careful with these spots because these cars are pretty wide. So if you end up side by side or 2 or 3 wide here, you could end up in some close contact, end up with a collision, and you can see that Gal Valero having to let off just a little bit earlier. That doesn't want to get involved in any sort of incident with Evandro Dantas, but he does have the nice exit out of there, and he makes the pass happen just very, very cleanly. Coming out of turn 1, immediately half a second taken away from Evandro Dantas here.
Yeah, I'm sure Valero got a bit frustrated there. He caught him at the worst possible time, just after the last real overtaking opportunity, which is going into the Mercedes-Benz cover. After that, it's all medium speed, one lane turns where you can't overtake, and that's exactly where he was. So now he needs to put his foot down and hopes the likes of Pedro Dean and Juan Blena get caught up in traffic as he puts his foot down. Like you said, he tends to go long in these races, and that is the advantage of going long. But of course, if you get out behind them, you won't really have the chance to overtake. Is Valero's call? No, I think all cars are equal. Just the slipstream effect and the exit he got coming out of 10-16 and onto the main straight.
Yeah, and he's trying to eke out as much of a gap as he possibly can before he ends up having to pit. And Evandro Dantas here, if he stays in P2, I think his strategy would be just try and mirror Gal Valero's pit strategy and pit on the same lap, or try to go for one more lap, see if you can get the undercut, and then try and get Gal Valero to catch up back to him. But regardless, I think Gal Valero pretty consistent pace here. Going to be holding that position. In fact, the gap has been extending ever so slightly. It was half a second when you made the pass. Now it's up to 1.2 seconds just a lap later. So definitely looks like Valero has the pace. He is flying today. Meanwhile, the other drivers at the back of the grid, we have Pedro D here trying to catch up to Juan Blena, about 6 tenths separating these two drivers, and another second separating them from Alberto Senao in P6.
Absolutely, and it's close between the guys who have pairs. They pit very early on when the pack was still ramped and bunched up, but Valero 1.5 seconds out in front. Reutemann is also closing in on Evandro Dantas. But apart from that, it seems like it's going to be a game of strategy, like you picked there, Damon, with some guys going immediately into the pit stop and some guys going long, which is going to be the better call. Well, for me, it's whoever does not get caught up in traffic, especially in second degree, like I've said. That's where you don't want to get caught up. And for now, it seems like Juan Blena is making his way through said traffic very nicely. In front of him now is Alberto Senao, sorry, as part of my Spanish/Portuguese. I don't know what language that is. I can only speak 3 languages. But yeah, Reutemann, he's not too far behind Evandro Dantas, and I think we can see a move here in the next coming laps, can't we, Damon?
Yeah, definitely. Reutemann does seem to have the pace advantage over Evandro Dantas here. The pit lane is quite long here at Hockenheim, so you want to eke out as much of a gap as possible. If you're below 20 seconds, if the gap is less than 20 seconds, you run the risk of getting undercut if you take the pit a little bit early. So for these drivers, they're just pretty much going to see how long they can stay on track before they end up having to pit. In fact, there is even the distinct possibility that some of them might not pit until the very, very last lap, which is still a valid strategy, but probably not the safest way to go about it.
Yeah, remember, folks back home, a pit, you don't need to go through the pit lane, you actually need to stop at your pit box. We've had drivers who pit either at the wrong pit box or went straight through and the game does not register that as a pit stop. It is harsh, but that's the reality. We've seen drivers lose wins and podiums because of that, so we'll make sure these pit stops are proper. You can see Juan Blena leads the group away in terms of pit stops, and his next target will be Miguel Araujo.
Yeah. So Juan Blena, really good pace from him. Making it past a no-stop driver for the time being is very good, because that pretty much guarantees Alberto Senao not being able to keep up, because he still has to take his pits. So Alberto Senao has to try and make a move for Juan Blena, which is going to be difficult because one, has the car under control, has a lot of good pace, so he is very quick to beat. The drivers in front, of course, do have their own liberty to decide when they want to take the pits, but again, they want to try and squeeze up as large of a gap as possible before it happens. Meanwhile, the battle between Reutemann and Dantas still heating up. Still less than a second separating them over the course of the last couple of laps. But yeah, as you said, we might see a move happening soon. Reutemann can narrow the gap down to 4 tenths or 3 tenths at any point during the course. He might try to look for an opportunity.
Pedrodine's looking also for an opportunity, hoping to get a good run out of turn 4 through turn 5, the parabolic, and into the hairpin 6, arguably the best overtaking place as with the slipstream, and you can brake quite late, but you don't want to go too deep, as we saw the other Dean go deep in turn 1 then. But here we go to the inside. Oh, just not committed enough under braking. He had to stick line us. Now we see the opponent camp as well, two completely different camera setups, which is also nice to see everyone with the same. But still, Pedrodine, can he find a way past? He's losing a bit of time to Pamblane up right now. It seems like he's being held up, and that's his last overtaking spot for the lap, as he's going to have to sit behind for the final second, which is going to hurt him unless he can get a good run out of here. This is going to be quite risky. I've never seen an overtake here before on the inside going into the stadium section, and I think he's got that done. Yes, he does. What a move.
Yeah, cut Senna on the exit there, was a bit slow running out of that particular corner. Gives Pedrodine the opportunity to make it pass with the good speed that he has. So now really in the pits. That was not a pun. I apologize for that. I really didn't mean to say that. But yeah, Alberto Senna going to be in trouble because he still hasn't taken his pit stop, and he's dropped positions to guys that have already taken one stop. So, Pedrodine would have been wide there. But Alberto Senna not able to capitalize on it, or will he be able to? Less than 2/10 of a second separating these two drivers right now. So now looks for a move on the inside. Pedrodine goes wide again, having to let him through, and just like that, Pedrodine on the back foot once again.
Well, and that's how easy it is. He just sleep kind of caught him napping there on the inside of turn 2. Another great place, a bit unorthodox, but now Pedrodine is going to have to stick on, and that certainly lost him some time. Then you've got to remember, he's not only racing Pamblane, not also the likes behind him, but also this guy right here, Evandro Dantes, Ayrton Reutemann, and Gael Valero. And Valero getting about 4.7 seconds now, so he is certainly putting his foot down now. Up 9 out of 22, not halfway yet, but it is certainly heating up, mostly because of strategy, which is always nice to see, as it keeps us guessing on where you would come out. I'm not sure how long a pit is, probably around 15 or so seconds, maybe a bit more, bit less. But it seems like this is the battle we're focusing on right now. Evandro Dantes and Ayrton Reutemann. Reutemann has really closed up this last lap, hasn't he, Damon?
Yeah, I mentioned before that he probably wouldn't look for a move unless he's about 3/10 or 4/10 behind. Really close to that danger zone right now. If they go into the Parabolica and he has a slipstream, he could look for a move here onto Dantas. And Reutemann going to see if he can make it happen within this particular lap. That's all about a minute and a half off from the halfway point of this race. And again, top 6 haven't taken their pit stops yet, so we're still waiting on them to decide what the strategy is going to be. As you can see, Miguel Araujo is trying to make it past Tim State. As close as probably not. Tim State going to try and defend himself, but he ends up going wide on the entry there. Juan Brennan goes in for the dive. So does Miguel. Juan, little oversteer on the exit, but keeps it steady. Miguel as well coming out to the straight. They're side by side, too wide as they're coming into the next right-hander here. But Juan Brennan has a nice run, and he can lead in front of Miguel. Team State losing positions there, not a good run for him. For the time being, I have to try and find a way to claw his way back up.
Wow, that got real hairy going into the hairpin there. 3 abreast. Everyone was trying to switch back Pamblane up, but no one was able to get it. Miguel was able to get a good run, but not good enough towards turn 9 and then as he's gonna, that was probably his best overtaking opportunity there, as Pamblane up to show absolutely immense levels of pace there, as him and Valero seem to be on the same level around. We saw Valero there in the 34s, but not then his lap time also in the 34s, so it's very close between these two there, both of them starting at the back of the grid in the final 3 positions.
Yeah, and Juan Brennan not making his position known right now as the top guy here 3-4 after taking a pit stop already, which means that he is in a very, very good position to be at least on the podium, if not in first place right now. If Valero extends the gap by another 3 to 4 seconds, he could possibly pip him just a little bit, but probably not really. Man on a mission right now is Evandro Dantas, kind of bottling the exit a little bit, oversteer. Reutemann is going to seize this opportunity to see if he can make a move onto the next couple right-hander into this tight left-hander here. Takes the inside line, goes for the pass, makes it clean and easy, and just like that, Reutemann up in P2.
Wow, what a move. That's exactly what we've been talking about, capitalizing on mistakes. Evandro Dantas, a bit too aggressive on throttle. Now he goes a bit wider, missing the apex. But yeah, he capitalized on that move and now moved up into P2, and he's earned himself $20 right now. As in Heat 1, of course, the price or the win is doubled. So this is exactly where you want to make up the positions. This is the race that counts. Of course, all of them count at the end of the season, but Heat 1 just ever so more important, as I'm sure Juan Blenat is going to join this fight not too far behind. You see him there in the background, just coming out of the final corner as these guys go into turn 1.
Yeah, and now the important thing is we have to see whether or not Reutemann can close this valley of a gap between him and Valero. Doesn't seem like that's the case. On first glance, the gap is extending back up almost 8 seconds separating these two drivers right now. But time will tell. We're past the halfway point of the race, and Reutemann holding on to that P2, but Dantas isn't going to let it go without a fight. In fact, he's right in the slipstream of Reutemann there, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes and Reutemann makes a few of his own. He could try and claw that position back, but you have to see how gentle you have to be on the throttle from corner exit, because these cars so much power going to the rear wheels. You could run the risk of oversteering very, very easily.
Especially out of the heavy traction zones, out of the hairpin, out of that section they were just in, and out of the final corners. Such important traction zones, as we see Juan Blenat, he's getting ever so slightly 4 tenths in sector 2, so he's really going for it now, and he's pretty much level on pace with Valero, both of them setting 34.5s last time round. Then question is, when will Valero pit? Will he come out in front? I think he's just going to come out a bit behind, currently 15 seconds ahead of his closest competitor on Blenat, then, as he keeps on gaining on Ayrton Reutemann and Evandro Dantas. But Dantas not really dropping back. He's still definitely in the slipstream as we jump now to P7. There's 3 cars then fighting for this. It's Pedro Tobias Soriano and Senawaz. Oh, well, never mind. He spun Tim State there. Oh, I think he almost collected someone else there, as he's now standing at a very awkward spot. He tries to get onto the track, as I think he almost collected someone else there, didn't he, Damon?
Yeah, he waited for a bit to rejoin the track to make sure that he didn't end up collecting anybody on his way back in, but and on a spot like that, definitely is a little bit of danger there. And yeah, we can see Tim saying that he's been struggling to keep the car under control since the beginning of the race, and it finally bit him back in lap 13, so he's down to P10. Pedro taking away P6 from him, taking it in front of Alberto Senao. In fact, these guys have been jostling for each other's respective positions since the early start of the race, after Pedro got that pass on him early on a few laps ago. So now Alberto Senao trying to make his way back up, but the gap between them is actually extending between him and Pedro. Meanwhile, in front here is Juan Blenat. Was 4 seconds earlier on last lap. It's now down to 3.5, so he definitely is making a substantial amount of time. But time that he's gaining onto Evandro Dantas is time that he's losing to Valero in front there. And we're going to cut to a replay here of what happened to him state. You can see he's coming out of the corner there, and as he collects the car, just a little bit ahead here, going full speed onto the straights, coming into turn 1. You can see just immediately hitting the curb, and then collecting the car on the way out. Comes out from underneath him, couldn't keep it under control, and goes into the spin. Doesn't hit the barrier. He manages to keep it under control just before he hits, whips back around, and gets stuck in a really awkward position for the rejoin.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you were talking. These cars so low to the ground that any sort of curve that is remotely as any volume will send them spinning, and there he just lit up the rear tires there and spun, and that's certainly not going to do his tires too well. Surprising though that he did not spin off into the wall, so some skill from these drivers also in drifting to keep these cars out of the barriers. Not the easiest car to keep out of the barriers, because they kind of do what they want, especially the rear end, even with that big rear wing, trying to keep the car blasted to the ground. But Pedrodin, he got past number 4 car of Alberto's Noah than earlier, and he is now going to try and close the gap to the leading trio who are yet to make the pit stops. And Damon, do you think Valero thinks he's going to come out ahead of Blenat, or do you think he's kind of hoping that Evandro Dantes and Reutemann will hold him up a bit?
We'll have to wait and see when Juan Blenat actually finally catches up to them, whether or not they'll actually be able to hold him back and give Gal Valero the opportunity to go for a bit of time, because it doesn't look like he has enough time to really save himself from an undercut if it does happen. Reutemann is still about 10 seconds behind him, and Juan Blenat again 2 seconds behind. We'll have to see whether or not that comes on when we reach the later sections of the heat. We're currently lap 15, so there's about 7 laps remaining here. We're still on board with Alberto, so now he is still slowly closing the gap between Pedrodin, but hasn't been able to really make an opportunity happen just yet. He just needs to keep the pressure up. Hope that Pedrodin commits to an unforced error and then try to capitalize on that mistake. Pedrodin really keeping it nice and steady right now.
And I think, yeah, that's the key. I think that's why he's in P6 right now, Damon. He's kept it clean and consistent. Yes, he's made a couple of overtakes, but he's also been fighting with Alberto Senna throughout, but he's just kept it clean. He's not been spinning. He's not lit up his tires too much throughout this race. And I think once everyone pits, he might even be P2, maybe even P3, as he's not too far off Reutemann and Evandro Dantes, only about, 7 seconds or so.
Yeah, definitely. He could look for a undercut opportunity here. As long as he keeps it consistent, and then he'll have just to contend with Juan Blenat as well as Alberto Senna, still facing him down here. Lap 60 on 22, 6 laps remaining. Front top 3 have yet to hit. We'll have to see whether or not Gal Valero feels confident enough to hit within the next few laps. Of course, remember that this pit stop is mandatory, so if you don't take it, you could end up walking home with nothing. But regardless of that, Reutemann still losing time to Gal Valero here, and Juan Blenat is now about a second, only a second behind these two drivers here, P2 and P3.
Yep, and as we've seen, he's carrying absolutely incredible pace, then 2.5 tenths just in sector 1 alone, which is really just one braking zone and one exit zone, or one power zone. But he's really getting, but there is one thing that those two ahead of him have, and Evandro Dantes, he's got a slipstream which will help him to defend from Juan Blenat. Evandro Dantes has got a slipstream of Ayrton Reutemann. So I think you have to take them both in one, like he did through the Parabolica to I think it was Pedro Dean and Miguel Araujo going into the hairpin of turn 6, and it might happen this lap, or he's gonna have to wait a bit more. But each corner he's behind these guys, he will lose a bit of time to Valero. So it's gonna be interesting how quickly he can get past, and this might be race defining how quickly he gets past them. Both of them going wide though through turn 1, really pushing. Now Miguel Araujo goes into the pit lane. Now this is the exit that could decide the race, couldn't it, Damon? Hugo goes a bit deeper, Evandro Dantes, and I think Juan Blenat, he's gonna get a good run. He's tucked up right in the slipstream. He looks left, he looks right. Which way is he gonna go? I think he's gonna go towards the inside. Yes, he will. He's just gone off over speed to where he gets alongside and ahead going into the braking zone. I don't think Evandro Dantes was fighting that too hard.
Yeah, definitely, and Juan Blenat on track to put himself right on top of that 2-1. Gal Valero still losing time. Reutemann is still losing time to Valero, but if Juan Blenat makes it past, that might not even matter. He might not have enough of a gap to justify getting the pit stop. He will have to take regardless. So he could end up losing that P1 spot after holding on to it for so long. Because Juan Blenat is, as I've said before, man on a mission, making his charge all the way to the top. Already one stop take means that he doesn't have to pit anymore, which puts him at a major advantage compared to the other drivers.
Absolutely, and he's really pushing. We're now on board with Alberto Senna and Petrodine. These two have been tagging together pretty much for the entire race, but Petrodine, he's already made his pit stop as Juan Blenat gets past Ayrton Reutemann on the main straight. That's an unorthodox place. Can Reutemann stick in the slipstream and kind of use him as his horse to his carriage, as he's sticking with him for now? And I'm not sure if that was the best place for Blenat to overtake, as he's going to have to contend with Reutemann. If he gets a good run out of turn 4, it doesn't get half bad, but I think he might just be a bit too far behind to where the slipstream can't help him. The slipstream is pretty powerful, but not powerful enough for a 3-4 tenths gap. He's closing in quite rapidly though. Will he go for it into turn 6? He has a little look, and never mind, he backs out of it. He thinks the better of it. He knows he's not racing him, as now we will see the true pace of Juan Blenat in clean air.
Yeah, and you can already see already shaving off a tenth of a second time there from Valero, and Valero looking like he might really have to pit soon, otherwise he's not going to stand a chance at all. And if Juan Blenat gets the undercut, that's probably going to be it for him, because these two drivers are running pretty similar in terms of their pace. So if any gap of any more than 2-3 seconds is probably going to be curtains for Valero. Still going to be in a relatively high finishing spot, but with these two drivers so close to one another, and Reutemann could also keep the position away from him. Roger Dantas not too far behind, about 2 seconds between them here, and Valero not hitting yet, still trying to see if he can extend that gap a little bit more before he finally has to take that pit stop.
Yeah, and I think it is safe to say now that Valero will go all the way to the end and will pit on lap 21, as Evandro Dantas pits. He was 2 seconds behind Reutemann when he came into the pit lane, and I think he'll come out in P8 just ahead of Mikel Araujo there, as we should get confirmation shortly. Pit exit now. He might even lose out to Miguel, as he stays out just in front of him there. So yeah, but Reutemann should come out in P7 then. So yep, as I thought, Petrodine is gonna pick up P3 then, a podium score, and he's had a very great race. I mean, he's not really been fighting his way through, he's just been capitalizing on other people's mistakes, hasn't he, Damon?
Yeah, definitely, and you can see already Juan Blenat just leaving Reutemann in the dust right now, and you cannot stop this man. And Alberto Senna and Petrodine, again, still competing, jostling for that position, but Senna hasn't taken his pit stop yet, so this battle would be over before we call it, because he has to go into the pits any time now, and Petrodine is just going to be cruising ahead in front of him. In fact, there is a slight chance that he might even cut Valero to tip that pretty away from him. Considering the gap, however, about 20 seconds between him and Valero, so it might not really happen, but there is always a small possibility.
These guys leaving it very late with their pit stops. Lap 20 now. We've only got 2 laps to go, so 2 after this one, and this race has been, it's had a bit of everything, didn't it? And a bit of action, a bit of strategy, a couple of spins here and there, a very chaotic start as well. Don't forget about that. We get to do it all again in P2, but a bit shorter than 10 minutes shorter, so that should be about 5 laps or so, give or take. But I think Juan Blenat, he knows how much a pit stop is. He knows just keeping it clean, very much in the position Petrodine was in the AMX. So just keep it clean, keep it consistent, keep your head in the game, don't lose yourself, don't spin, don't do any mistake, and he should walk away with beautiful, crisp $25 bill, PayPal bill heading his way.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll probably have to go on board Valero, see if he makes a stop or not. as we're going up the win, and looks like he still hasn't committed to it yet. So coming up to the last sector here is on board with Valero, so that means Valero will probably be on the start-finish straight at any time now. Meanwhile, he is just Lena here, just extending the gap between him and Reutemann, now 4 seconds ahead. And Valero not hitting yet. He really is saving it until the 11th hour, but this gap is not getting any bigger, so he is going to be in trouble once that pit actually happens.
Valero might even lose P2 here because Reutemann, or sorry, Pedro Dean is only 8 seconds off Playnut, yeah. And if it is a long pit stop, then we will see as we see Playnut really fighting with his rear end there, coming out of turn 2, really pushing it hard, maybe going for fastest lap. But I do think he does have the fastest lap. Just checking, yep, he does have the fastest lap, a 1:34.1, and the man closest to him then is Valero with a 1:34.3. So just 2/10 behind them, Valero, and he's not going to beat that as he's pitting in this lap, and he's going to come out next lap as Gerard Sardini is also pitting. So where will Alberto Sanoa, Ayrton Reutemann, and Gael Valero come out? That is the question, as I think apart from that, all the battles will remain the same. Maybe we can see Soriano get past Pedro Dean, but he's got a car in the way, so I doubt it. But Evandro Dantes gets up into P8 and passes Miguel Araujo.
Yeah, got a gap now, 14 seconds separating. There is Gael Valero. You can see the picture. He's finally entering the pits. Very last lap of the race. He has to stop in the pit box and come back out. Here comes Juan Leonard coming up to the start finish straight here. Ooh, this is gonna look like
He's got it.
yeah, Juan Leonard looks like the cab. Valero's coming out of the pits right now. Will he be able? He's got the front pit box, so he saves it as he exits the course just in front of Juan Leonard. Holds on to the lead, but Juan Leonard has the runner on the turn 1. He's going to make this really close there. Here comes Valero coming out into turn 2. Juan Leonard trying to make a move. No, he doesn't, but doesn't have a lot of space left. And Valero, oh, he can count his lucky stars. He managed to get the front pit box there.
He's weaving, he's breaking the toe blade out, he's got the slipstream of a lifetime, he's got the opportunity of a lifetime. Valero weaving left, weaving right, breaks it up, hugs the inside. He's gone for a second, but he's back there side by side into the hairpin. This is for the race win, ladies and gentlemen. Can Playnut get a good exit? No, he can't. He's got another dose of the slipstream towards the Mercedes grandstand. They race. Can he get a good run then with the slipstream? Can he go towards the inside? No, Valero cuts that off and then moves over beautifully. Playnut, he's really pushing it. Maybe his only pit stop and getting stuck in traffic was not the best call. He was certainly the fastest man out on track, and I just want to say Valero, he was absolutely pushing it going into the pit lane. He made up half a second in the second one alone on his in lap then, and I think he's got it. There's no real overtaking opportunity without a mistake. I think Valero's got this move, and it's thanks to his strategy. As we said, Damon, this would come down to strategy, but also some great pace management from Valero. Playnut, the man who was on pole, sticks out his tongue. He is frustrated because he knows this win got away from him, but Valero gets a win, and you can see the nod on his head. That was a close one.
Yeah, Valero, before he pitted, managed to squeeze out at least a second away from Juan Leonard, and I think that may have saved his pit entry there. Was able to come out just in front of Juan Leonard, holding on to that P1 all the way until the end. Meanwhile, Ayrton Reutemann there, I don't think he pitted, even though he finished P3, so that might be a bit of an issue there. We'll have to see for sure, but Toby Soriano and Pedro Dean running out of the top 5. He's his lead, P6, Araujo, P7, and Pedro Dantas, him stick there. The last guy on the track right now, about to cross the line here, going to be in P9. But yeah, what a finish to Heat 1, and we've still got another heat right after this.
Wow. The next race is going to be a sprint race, a shorter race. Wow.
Absolutely. And now your PenQ session winner, Gael Valero, on your screen right now, won it by half a second. On Leonard having to set up a P2 here. Ayrton Reutemann P3. Tobias Soriano in P4. Pedro Dean actually managing to squeeze it into the P5. Great drive from him in P. Alberto Senao at B. Vinicius Dean in P6. Miguel Araujo in P7. Ibarra Lantas P8. Tim State in actual P9. Alberto Senao, Rad Sardeni, and Bruno Carmo. Unfortunately, really got taken out early on and just couldn't recover off that. So he's in P12. We'll get pole for the next race, however. Might feel like a little bit of a hollow victory, but if he can keep his head in the game and stay in front, he still has a pretty good chance.
Well, you said it would come down to strategy, and I think it was because, funnily enough, he got caught up in just the tiniest bit of traffic since he pit early, and yeah, he'll be kicking himself because of that one, won't he, Eamon?
Yeah, definitely. And well, it's time to chill, reset a bit, because now we're jumping straight into Heat 2. Again, the parade lap with the safety car there. We'll have to see whether or not these drivers get the good run up that they need in order to secure these starting positions. We have Bruno Carmo on pole this time around, Gerard Sadeni in P2, Alberto Strau in P3, Tim State now in P4, P5, Evandro Dantas, Miguel Araujo in P6, Vinicius and Pedro Dean P7, P8 respectively, Tobias Soriano in P9, Edgar Reutemann P10, and the top two, Juan Blina and Gab Valero, now having gone their way back to the front of the pack from the back. And we need some time to ourselves to relax for a bit, because it's shorter, but still a sprint, and still going to be close contest between all of these drivers here. So take some time, take a deep breath before they cross the start finish line. Just gotta chill for a bit.
Have a sip of water, stay hydrated. Here we go then. E2 of Race 6 MX5 is about to get underway, and we are underway then for the shorter race of the evening. Who is going to come out on top? No mandatory pit stop this time round. There's already their 2x2 throughout turn 1. Everyone seems to be going wide and forgetting about track limits. Bruno De Carmo still leads them away ahead of Gerard Sardini as he's Blanat is looking to make up moves right away. There's a lockup in the background, and that's taking out quite a few cars. Who got caught up in that? I'm not too sure. Miguel Rao and Arthur Reutemann seem to be quite a few. It was a fat lock up there going into turn 2. I'm not sure who that was. Just went rolling pretty much into turn 2 as there's quite a few cars carrying damage.
Yeah, Vinicius Dean there, that went really hard on the dive on the inside, locked up his brakes, couldn't turn his car at all, and then just careened into the back of both Toby Soriano and Miguel Araujo here. You can see his car the most badly damaged out of all of them, though it might just be the front end of the car is just completely missing now. But he's still in the race for the time being. Tim State there actually trying to hold off Gerard Sardini, doing a pretty good job of it, actually making his way up the pad, picking up difference since race start. Pedro Dean back there, what a beautiful camera angle from production there. The car is just blitzing by, and Caballero P5, Juan Blanat actually caught in the back there. He's down all the way in P12. I wonder what happened, because he wasn't part of that turn 2 incident, so maybe he ended up spinning the car somewhere else.
I don't know, as like we've got yep, damage. You can see the front of the car missing its bumper. You can really see the engineering of it though, which is always nice to see. Valero though up 7 positions. He must have somehow found a way to slip by all the chaos and action as he's looking to tick off another one off the list. Next one is Pedro Dean on his hit list, and that is another check mark on that list up to P5. Wow, and he's usually GT3 cars is his natural habitat. I think we've found his second natural habitat. These radicals, I mean, pretty similar in terms of power, a bit less power, but also therefore quite a bit less stable, aren't they, Damon?
Yeah, definitely, and the downforce doesn't really help much, especially in these low-speed sections where you have to be really careful with your throttle modulation on the way out. But Valero seems to have it under control as we're now cutting through the replay of what happened in turn 2. We can see car of Vinicius Dean here trying to go into turn 1, keeps the dive. This is a pretty safe area in terms of what happened. It was the turn after this that everything really came to a head. You can see there as we get into a replay while we watch the live footage in picture. Here comes Vinicius Dean. You can see he's on the inside as they're coming up to this next right-hander. But you can see when he brakes, there's smoke coming out of his front tires. He's locked out the brakes and immediately just careens into the back of, I think that was Gerard's car, and then damaging the car as well. So two truckers along with him, and yeah, he's going to be really unhappy with that. Knocking into the race, a point in the race.
Yeah. I counted 4 cars there getting involved in that incident, and those 4 seem to be way down at the back, or at least 2 guys had to pit for damage. Some other guys just being spun around. But now for the fight for P2, look at Alberto Senao. He's already got a 3-second lead to Tim State. Tim State under pressure from Gerald Sardini, not too far behind, and he's really putting on the pressure towards the hairpin. He's side by side. Who's going to be lost on the brakes? It seems like it's Garden Sardini then who gets the move down. Valero so on the exit, then he's got his nose in. Careful, leave space, boys. Very close through here, flat out, still side by side. Now Valero on the outside at the Mercedes-Benz Corvette, and he gets that move done. What a move by Valero, up into the podium positions already.
Yeah, Pedrodin, they're coming right out of nowhere to try and be part of his action, and if he makes it past Tim State, he's pretty much in contention for at least a podium spot. But he has to make it past Tim State first before that happens. Tim State did a pretty good job of defending against Pedrodin for the time being, but it seems like it's only a matter of time. As long as Tim State can keep the car under control, he probably has the defense in the bag right now, but because of this, Pedrodin is getting held up by him, and Valero, Sardini running away from the gap for the time being. 1.3 seconds is the gap. Now Valero making it past Sardini. He's now up in P2. So now he's trying to close the gap to Alberto Senao, and we know him. He's extremely quick on the Radical here at Hockenheimring. So I feel like this 2-second gap probably will end up being nothing by lap 8 or something. As Tim State locks up the brakes and gives Pedrodin an opportunity to make it past.
Yep, Pedrodin gets a thank you very much for P4, and he's gonna set now after Sardini in P3, and yeah, Valero, it's gonna take some time to catch up to the leader, but we know he's got pace in this car. Question is, how much pace does he have over Alberto Senao? It's gonna be a final question. Still gap 3.5. Keep an eye on that gap, folks. It's further behind Adventure Dantas, and we're gonna allow our fighting for P9 and P10 though, but it seems like so far the race has calmed down, just like in P1 where we had a opening crash in turn 2 there, as now lap 4 started to calm down, which gives us a breather, which is nice, isn't it, Damon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Valero is a pretty good breather in that too, and of course compared to P1, not really much in terms of strategy, especially when it comes to hitting, because you don't have to pit anymore. It is just a sprint from start to finish. So Valero just has to concentrate on driving as fast as he can, not making any mistakes, and keeping the gap between him and the car behind him as wide as possible so he can make his move in peace. While Gerard Sardini is still holding on to that P3, but Pedrodin is also closing the gap between him and Sardini, so we could see a move happening. Already lap 5 into 16 out of 16 here, so Monday Night still stuck in the back, unable to really make any headways. Probably might end up calling it time for him. Bruno Carmo here also, not a great Heat 1 performance for him, but trying to redeem himself with this Heat 2 run. Going to see if he can make it past Tim State as well.
Well, he's picked up the slipstream going down the head, and Tim State, he gets overtaken every lap in the head, and becomes a habit now. Can he hold it on the outside? No, I think just a snap of oversteer for him just in front of the apex there, and yeah, did not get a great run. Seems like he's found the limits of these radicals, like we've mentioned, just so unstable in the rear, and any sort of bump or just any sort of aggressive movement is going to have them spun around. And there you see the man just overtook him there, Tobias Soriano. I'm telling you, he looks very close to Gael Valero. I'm telling you, they are distant cousins. Or is that just me, Damon? Is it just me? Am I hallucinating, or are they distant cousins?
I mean, they're not distant cousins, that's for sure, but they do look the same, and I don't blame you for that. It might be the hair, actually, just from the way you look at it. But yeah, that's Toby Soriano, and that's Gal Valero in the brown shirt there, and Gal Valero is still on the charge. Fastest lap set by him so far, and it looks like he is still at a consistent 3 seconds away from Alberto Senal. So now we know that Senal also has the pace in order to stay ahead. And so Valero already needs to make sure the gap between him and PP is as wide as possible. Again, so he can make his move too.
Well, Valero give him some time, and he'll be there both to give Senal some time, and he will also be on the pace then. 3.2 seconds, the gap is not closing in as rapidly as we thought. Maybe he doesn't want to be pushing too hard and find the limits. We've seen people push too hard, as what happened to Andre. No, he's down to he was P6. Was he caught up in an incident or something?
Yeah, I think what happened is Valero pretty much aware that it's more favorable to be in the chaser position than the lead, especially this early on in the race when we're not even halfway. So he's just kind of like biding his time. As long as he can keep the gap to a minimum, he's definitely got a fighting chance of like making it pass. So far the gap is still about 3 seconds, but I think he really wants to be catching up and closing the gap bit by bit, lap by lap. Hasn't been able to do that so far, so we'll have to wait and see. We're still not halfway. In fact, we're only about 6 laps in, and meanwhile the other drivers here, Ayrton Reutemann, Miguel Araujo in the back of the pack, unable to really make any headways alongside Juan Bernat there, and Vinicius Dean, I think, and ended up in a little bit of an incident as well. Maybe he ended up spinning the car, but gave Juan Bernat the position of P11 here.
Yes, Pedro Dean then, he is pushing Sardini through this opening sector and onto the Parabolica. He might be a bit too far back to make a move going into the head, and then with a slipstream not being too powerful. Once again, 3 tenths, that's when the slipstream really starts to show. 4 tenths around, you definitely feel a bit from the suck, but not enough to where you can send a dive bomb in or even just really have a chance. If he can get a good run maybe towards the Mercedes grandstand, but I think he's too far back for that as well. That's 10 out of 16. Valero not gaining in as quickly as we thought then. Sardini also not dropping back as too fast as we expected, but Pedro Dean certainly starting to pile on the pressure.
Yeah, and these drivers, they definitely perform well under pressure, but it might just be a matter of time before Sardini cracks. He's still pretty good so far, so maybe I shouldn't really say anything before I end up jinxing him. But he is holding on to it quite well, and Pedro Dean still keeping him at arm's length here is Sardini. Gal Valero is narrowing the gap ever so slightly, but will he be able to close it in time to make the pass happen before the end of the race? It is still yet to be known.
Well, it's closing in by 2-3 tenths a lap. That's nowhere near enough right now. He might close up to him, but it won't be enough to make an overtake as well. So, yep, Valero, he got the win in Heat 1. I think he's going to be absolutely happy with a podium in Heat 2. As well as further behind, Reutemann, Araujo, and Tim State, and fighting away, coming onto their Parabolica. Tim State, give this man a break. He's pretty much been overtaken every lap going into the hairpin. I think this lap is going to be no different. We jump back up as Pedro Dean. Yep, there we go. Gets past Sardini, going into the hairpin. Sardini cannot do anything about that, as I think, yep, Tim State has also been overtaken by Reutemann in the background. They're down to be 8th for him.
Yeah, I've actually had the opportunity to talk to Tim State regarding his participation in events, and he pretty much has gone on record as saying that he's here just to see how well he can improve and here to have a good time. He wants to see if he can compare himself to some of the best drivers in the world here, and he's doing a pretty admirable job at it. Still conceding a bunch of positions, but he's staying consistent. And despite that Heat 1 spin he had earlier on, he looks like he's kept the car under control, pretty much understood what the limits are, and regardless of whether or not he's just, I think he's going to be pretty okay with this one performance.
Well, he is certainly improving, and of course he's going up against the best of the best here in iRacing around the Hockenheimring in these radicals then. And I don't think he'll be kicking himself too much. Of course, you learn from your mistakes. Now he knows where the limit is of the car and the track. That turn 1 is a very unforgiving turn, especially with the curbs on the exits. He's very close to Reutemann there, and he's going to have the slipstream down, so I think he might even overtake going into the hairpin this time around. If the slipstream does its job, he might still be a bit too far behind. He's gaining, but I don't think it'll be enough. It'll have to be a dive bomb for him. I don't think he'll go for it, no, but he has a little look. He lets Reutemann know that he is there, and he is there to race, and he won't let him go that early. But now Valero, he's started putting the pressure on. 2.1 seconds the gap is. It was 3 seconds just 2 laps ago, it felt like.
Yeah, definitely. And Valero now figuring out, okay, it's time to turn on the pace. I've got to catch up. I've got to make it past him before the end. And yeah, as you said before, Tim stage, he did try to have a look in, but I don't think he's entirely confident in the way he handles the car just yet, which is why he didn't go for the move. We're going to have to give him a bit of time there. As we're the car in 5 there, catching up to Gerard Sardini here. In fact, he might be in contention to make this a 3-way battle.
Yeah, with him and Jordine as well. These three, everyone seems to be traveling in trios or quadruples. Tobias Soriano not too far off these guys as well. 8/10. Then you got 5 seconds to Reutemann, but Tim State not too far behind. I think Aral made a mistake. I know he went deep into turn 2, but he's dropped off 2 seconds as well later down the lap. But now keep an eye on the gaps all around, folks. Pedro Dean and Sardini and Bruin de Carmo. Bruin de Carmo is the closer of the two, but I don't think he's close enough to make a move, as Sardini has got the slipstream to defend himself with or use as a defensive goal. And of course, no sort of gimmicks the drivers can use here, no overtake mode or no edging modes to choose between for some extra power. Just it's all in the exits, and in the braking, and the slipstream, of course, helping quite a bit, especially on the power bolt on the run to the hairpin, which we've mentioned before. Best overtaking spot, hands down, as you are pretty much flat out for the first half of the lap, only really braking for turn 2 until the end of sector 1 then. And then you get into the technical section, which is the Sachskurve right here. Quite a bit angled there, considering it's quite a slow speed corner, and you don't want to get stuck on the inside apex. Bruno De Carmo taking a different line there, hanking along the curb there, and he's really starting to pressure Sardini now.
Yeah, managing to keep the car under control as it's rolling over the curbs is no mean feat there. And yeah, you really have to be braving those curves if you want to take the best line through. And Bruno De Carmo knows that, which is why he's utilizing it to his full advantage. And of course, you mentioned Parabolica, one of the best overtaking spots. But in a car like this, even when you're going flat out, you don't really have that much grip. So you still have to be careful in terms of this car specifically. Short wheelbase, large amount of power, very light car, very twitchy. So any wrong move could end up sending both of you into the barriers. But here comes Bruno De Carmo, diving on the inside, makes the move happen. Will Sardini get the switch back? No, he does not. Bruno De Carmo, excellent dive there onto the hairpin, managing to make it nice and clean up to P4.
Yeah, that's a very clean overtake done in the braking zone as well, which is also nice to see that these drivers can get the job done under braking and braking late into the corners. But Valero closing in gap 1.5 seconds. I think it's a little too late to be Damon, but still they're fighting here in the background, as now Tobias Soriano has really caught up to them. 3/10 the gap is, as it seems like the fight for the podium has not ended quite yet.
Yeah, Pedro Dean there now facing down 3 cars behind in his rearview mirror, so he's going to be feeling the pressure, definitely. But you can see there, just in front of the camera shot, is Gal Valero. He can see Alberto Senao right in his sights. So at this moment in time, there's definitely an opportunity 4 laps remaining in this race, and Alberto Senao definitely sees Galvalero in his rearview mirror. He's going to be feeling the pressure a little bit as well. But as long as he keeps Galvalero out of his slipstream during the high speed sessions, he might still be okay.
Yeah, that's of course the important part. I doubt he'll get the race lead because remember, he needs to catch up, get within 5 tenths or so, and then he needs to overtake as well. It seems like in sector 1 he's actually lost a bit of time, so it doesn't seem to be a strong point sector 1. He is closing gap 1.3 now. If he can just close in another half a second, then the slipstream effect will start to show a bit more than it is right now. He's still over a second away, but there's battles all throughout the grid, and it might come down to the wire just like it did in Heat 1.
Yeah, Galvalero is a master at doing these coming down to the wire situations where he always ends up on top. So he's got that clutch factor in him. We'll have to see if it plays out in his favor this time around. Made up 0.25 seconds away from Alberto Senao. So the gap now just over a second. 4 laps remaining, actually about 3 laps remaining as a matter of fact. So, definitely looking, Alberto Senao looking a little bit worried there. Seeing Galvalero, the red and black car in his rearview mirror, trying to be a little bit more aggressive on his corner entries, but might end up scrubbing more speed than he would like.
I think what Alberto Senao now just needs to do is stay calm. I mean, yes, Valero's closing in by 3 tenths a lap. But remember, once he gets up to you, he needs to overtake, and then you can start going defensive and aggressive. Now you just need to do your race and not try and lose time, not try and go into the grass, get oversteer, get understeer, go deep as further behind. It's really kicking off Bruno De Carmo, Pedrodin, and Tobias Soriano not too far behind. But all 3 of them have managed to get past Gerard Sardini in the background there. As 3 completely different liveries. You've got 1 classic, 1 serious, and 1 very casual livery going on between these. We've got very lovely helicopter shot there for a second, but they're running in a train. It's almost like they've got strings attached between them, and Petrodine has just toned them along at the exact same distance.
Yeah, and one mistake from any of these drivers could mean the position swap. But Petrodine is going to do his best to make sure that doesn't happen. Less than 2 tenths between him and Bruno De Carmo here. Bruno De Carmo just looking for opportunity. He is surrounded back in front by 2 different cars. And yeah, I think as much as Bruno is applying pressure on Petrodine, he's feeling pressure himself from Soriano behind him. And you can see he's just talking a little bit of time there from Pedrodine, which gives Toby Soriano even more confidence to try and close the gap. Less than half a second between 3 cars, so definitely something you have to look out for. But again, in front is Galvalero. He is now less than a second, about a second behind Alberto Senao, but with only 2 laps remaining, will he actually be able to catch up?
I think he needs now to make a mistake. As now, here we go, Pedrodine goes very defensive as Bruno De Carmo goes chasing around the outside into the hairpin. There's no banging between them, no wheel locking luckily in these cars, unlike before the race. But look how close Tobias Soriano is now. He's practically pushing Bruno De Carmo through the corners now.
God, I was so worried. I was afraid that they might end up taking each other out, but both of them managed to make it out of that. A lot of contact here from these 2 drivers coming into lap 14. Coming out of lap 14, almost into lap 15, just a little bit here. They're coming out to the final sector. Meanwhile, Galvalero, another 3 tenths of a second taken away from the gap is him between him and Alberto Senao. So still likely to happen, but as long as Alberto Senao keeps calm, he'll hold on to that lead at the very end. Half a second now. It is coming down to the wire as we approach the penultimate lap. Galvalero is now in slipstream range, which means that this might be another contest for 1. But the battles repeat is also coming to a head here as Bruno De Carmo is just trying to find avenue past Pedrodine.
Well, we jump up to fight for the leaders. There you go, the battle for P3. Picture in picture. These are 2 different slipstream areas. Valero, he's still a bit too far back, but he's got one lap pretty much to make up 4 tenths. I think he can do it. So now, gap was 3.2 seconds. Valero started out slow, but then he had one massive push lap. Here we go, then the battle for P3. Pedrodin and Bruno de Carmo once again into the hairpin. Once again on the outside, Bruno de Carmo. Once again, he's going to try and beat him on the exit with the better run towards the Mercedes-Benz grandstand, but I think he needs to stick by. Watch out, there's Tobias Soriano. No, he's actually side by side, and he's got the inside for the left-hander of turn 9 there. It's close between the two. Who's gonna get the best run? They're still side by side coming out of the section, and still Bruno de Carmo cannot find a way by. Maybe now on the outside going into the stadium section. That's gonna be very tricky to pull off. No, he's gonna have to stay behind, but he's super close now, and once again he's gonna try going side by side into the Sachs curve and around the outside. What a move this will be if he gets it. What a move by Bruno de Carmo on the outside of the banked Sachs curve. That is absolutely brilliant from him.
Wow, that was intense action, and just like we're just looking at the picture. We're not even looking at the main screen right now, where Valero is just piling on the pressure. They're on the final lap already, so Valero definitely has to make something happen quickly if he wants to secure this Heat 2 win and make it a double for him. Alberto Senao not giving him the time of the day, however, less than 3 tenths is separating them, and here it is, big slipstream zone. Is Valero going to be able to catch up as they're entering the next right-hander? Oh, Pedrodin spun out! He's out of the contention, and Tobias Soriano also lost the position to Gerard Sardini as well. I think that might have been contact between those two drivers. And Valero very tight on that hairpin, trying almost to do a handbrake turn out of it. Managing to keep it straight and narrow, but not making the pass happen. Didn't get the best run up, and Alberto Senao still holding on to that lead for just a little bit longer. Will Valero be able to hold on, will catch up, and will Alberto Senao be able to hold on to it until the very end? We'll have to wait and see. But the battle for P3 is now done and dusted. Bruno de Carmo coming out on top there in front of Toby Soriano and Pedrodin. Here is the incident, the replay here coming in. Yeah, that is Pedrodin, and Toby Soriano goes in quite deep, tapping Pedrodin on the exit there and taking both of these drivers out of contention. Meanwhile, the battle here heating up. They're almost at the end of the lap. This is going to be tight because Valero very, very close, less than the 10th separating them, but he doesn't get the run out onto the start finish straight, and Alberto Senao will cinch it at the very end here. Crosses the line in P1. Valero made it a fight to the very end, but wasn't able to finish it off.
Well, it's safe to say Valero was on two sides of a final lap showdown. Heat 1, he was in front and just trying to hold on. Heat 2, he was chasing, trying to get in front, and it was just in the hairpin there, as you said, trying to do a hairpin turn. Did not get a great run in that, pretty much saw him. And if he would have just gotten an okay run out of it, he might have had a chance in the stadium section. We've seen he can overtake there, like, you know, the Carmo did.
Absolutely unbelievable driving there from the top drivers here at the AMX 5. What a race it has been. Valero being in contention for P1 for both races. Only this time he did not come out on top. And there is your Grand Prix session winner. It is Alberto Senao in second place. Valero less than 3 tenths of a second behind him. Bruno de Carmo managing to take P3 away from Pedrodin and Tobias Soriano. Gerard Sardini will be putting it in 4th, Pedrodin P5, Tobias Soriano P6, Miguel Araujo in P7, and Moitama P8. Juan Renan actually setting the fastest lap there with P9, Demetrio Dantas in P10, Tim State down to P11, and Vinicius lead, rounding out the final position. And boy, what a race it has been. What a time. And this is only the start of the season as well.
Absolutely. I mean, if every race is like this, count me in, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. And you have to understand that it's only Saturday. We still have another big race tomorrow as well. So definitely something we have to be looking forward to after seeing what happened here this weekend. This is week 2, ladies and gentlemen. We have at least 8 more weeks of this. Even more than that, actually. But man, oh man, I can't believe what I have just witnessed. I mean, can you?
I'm still coming down and comprehending of it and processing that race. I mean, start was chaotic, kind of come down in the middle, still battles and Valero trying to catch up, and then at the end, that fight for the podium and then for the race win in both heats as well. I mean, that was absolutely incredible racing and certainly a great ad for AMX Season 6.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, all you viewers at home, if you would like to take part, amxrace.com, you can always sign up to join. AMX ZERO is free. There is a buy-in for AMX 5, AMX 10, and AMX 15. So if you feel like you're up to the task, feel free to join. It's going to be an amazing season. I can feel it. If the start of the season was already this good, imagine what it would be like when the race for the championship is heating up. All the drivers are contending for points and everything really comes to a head. And we know for a fact that AMX is great testing training ground, I think, for racers to really test their mettle. And we're actually going to head over to an interview session right now. So let's see who we have on in just a little bit. Hi there, Tim. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you doing, Damon?
Oh, great. It's always been a treat watching you drive race around AMX, and just want to get your preliminary thoughts. You did okay for the first race at AMX ZERO, and then AMX 5, I did notice that you had a little bit of trouble with the Radical.
Yeah. Tricky car to drive, very powerful. My tires, I think I just overdrove it. My tires got too hot by like lap 10, and then I started sliding all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. And you've been part of AMX for a while now. How would you say your journey has been from since before you joined AMX up until now?
It's been great. I love AMX. It's great. I love you guys. Love watching the interviews and the commentary, and the guys I'm racing against. I mean, they're just on another level, though. But I'm hoping to learn from them. I follow them for a little while, and I see where I'm losing speed. But yeah, it's been a great journey. Yeah.
Yeah, glad to hear. I'm glad AMX is treating you well. I've also noticed that you've kind of like leveled up your sim setup. Like you were using the VR headsets up until last season, and now you're moving on to a triple screen setup.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I noticed nobody else was using the VR and they were faster than me, so I figured maybe I should change. And I would say the biggest difference is the lack of latency. So and that results in me spinning out less. And if I hit another car, I can react quicker. I think the Oculus, which is what I was using, had like a 30 millisecond latency on it. So that's like a third of a second. And that was just causing me to crash out too much. And now I don't think I'm any faster, but I can react to situations a bit quicker, and I feel I can catch the car sooner.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that sounds great actually, because I noticed that VR also kind of gives you that sense of danger that makes you not want to take unnecessary risks sometimes. Is that something?
Yeah, I'm not sure that had much to do with it. It's pretty scary in this thing too. So, yeah.
Understandable. What are your goals for this season of AMX?
I do want to improve. I'm hoping for a podium. These guys are too good, but it's taken me a while to adjust to this new setup as well. So I'm hoping now I have a new setup, I'll be able to start. I'm only a few tenths of a second per corner away from them, so I have hopes.
Yeah, it's always those few tenths that are the hardest to achieve, but I have faith that you'll be able to do it. Anything you want to say to all the viewers at home that are watching, or any family members that you want to thank?
Yeah, no, it's just a great series, and hi to my wife Rebecca, my daughter Christine, and keep on doing it, guys. I love it.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Tim, and we'll hope to see you again, maybe even tomorrow for AMX 15.
Yep. Look forward to it.
All right, thank you very much, Tim.
All right, cheers, bye.
And that was the interview with Tim Stade. What a lovable guy, honestly. He's always been a treat to watch as well as talk to, especially during the interview segments. Yeah, and it's great to see that he's having fun in AMX.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all here for, a bit of competition as well, but also, like he said, just wanting to keep on getting better, keep on improving. He's just a bit behind and it just needs to click. Of course, swapping from VR to triple screen, it's never going to be easy, but from what I've heard from that interview, it seems to be going rather well so far.
Yeah, definitely, and we're looking forward to seeing his progress. But before we wrap up today, the results are out, so we'll have them on screen in just a little bit. You can see here Valero walking away with the largest purse out of everyone here, $42.5, coming off of his win in Heat 1. Honestly, not that far behind him with that $41 purse, 41 points for him, only $1.50 behind. And Toby Soriano, that now that I've seen the pictures, I do see the resemblance between him and Valero just a little bit. But yeah, 26 points for him. In third place, Alberto Sanao in P4, Edson Reutemann in P5, Pedro Dean P6, Bruno Carmo P7, coming off of a really good result in Heat 2, Miguel Araujo in P8, Herad Sardeni in P9, and Vinicius Dean in P10. So congratulations to all the drivers that have managed to score in the points this time around. But just remember, we do have another big race tomorrow. So if you guys want to watch and join along with us, it's going to be a big one. We hope you'll be there. In the meantime, you can check out our socials down there: Instagram, Twitch, X, formerly known as Twitter. You can join in our Discord server if you want to talk to some of the drivers there. Our VODs are going to be up on YouTube alongside shorts as well. You can sign up to race for AMX at amxrace.com, as well as browse our short form content on TikTok. But until tomorrow, I'm Damon, joined here by Julian, and we'll be signing off for the night. See you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.